Welcome to Back of the Rack, a gaming videocast about games long neglected and not respected. Games that everyone heard of, or hated, or no one heard of and loved. We play the games in between the essentials and the unwanted, but mostly we play what we want on this podcast. But let's set the expectation here. If we play a mainstream franchise, it will always be the black sheep of the franchise. Hence why we're doing Resident Evil 6 today. So yeah, we don't look for like the top shelf games here. We look for what's in the back of the rack. That's where we find the games that are closest to our hearts. You can watch us on YouTube, which we consider to be the most optimal way to experience our content, or listen to us in podcast form wherever podcasts are available. Make sure to like and comment on our videos and leave good reviews for podcast feeds. It helps us out and is the fuel that keeps this videocast going. We hope everyone watching and everyone listening is doing great, and we thank you for joining us today. I'm Bendezzer, and with me, as always, is the fantastic Sondi. How are you doing, Sondi?
I'm doing good. Before we get started on this, before we get to the bullshit part, if you want to jump right into this month's game, into the special Halloween episode game, you can click on the timestamp listed below on the screen right here, or in the chapters on the YouTube video and or in the podcast summary. So you can skip right ahead to the fun part if you want just the video game discussion. But I'm alive. I think I say that every month because I'm just afraid that like it'll be the month and you're like, oh no, this is secretly a Sondi hologram and he's taking over the podcast and he's just here.
He's just here. This is a clone or something. Yeah.
It could be worse.
So are you gonna ask how I'm doing, or do you care, Sondi?
That's what I was about to say. I was about to segue. Dang, I'm sorry. I was gonna be like, yeah, it sucks, but hopefully, how are you doing? How does it? Dang, now I feel like I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear how you're doing anymore. Actually, I don't care. Yeah. So I'm doing good. I mean, there's a lot going on with my family right now. My sister's 20. She just turned 23. Your age. You're 23, right?
24 now. Yeah.
24. Okay. Yeah. You guys are you guys are like in the same like age range, and she's been dealing with life as it is, which is mainly struggling. So she's been really like down in the dumps, you could say, with the whole mental health issues. So I've been trying to be there for her. And I recently released, to plug my other channel, I recently released a game fashion show episode on my channel, which is just Bendezzer. And that was done with my girlfriend, and we did Genshin Impact, and that sort of ends the Genshin Impact, like,
the arc.
The arc, yeah, because I'm working in arcs. So I had the Trails of Cold Steel arc, the Genshin Impact arc, next is Final Fantasy arc. So, and what I mean by arc is that I do like introspective. I do a like beat related to the soundtrack and like a remix, and then I do like a game fashion show episode on it, which is a lot. But yeah. I just take my time with it. Like I'm more consistent on this channel, but like I take my time with that because it's like fun. Like shit.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
But, exactly. Yeah. Even though no one watched it.
Hey, it's all good.
But yeah. So I'm at 101 subscribers, which is
it's a feat.
Pretty.
It's a feat.
Yeah. I'm like 100. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. So that's cool. That's pretty much it. I mean, as far as like updates on life, anything interesting that's been going on actually. I want to add that this is basically a Halloween special, a Back of the Rack Halloween special. Let's not forget what this is.
I forgot. So this is for Halloween.
Yeah. So happy Halloween.
Thank you for deciding to listen to us again this month on Halloween.
Yeah, this is a second. Yeah, because you're gonna get
Final Fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. So. What do you have like a favorite holiday? Like, how do you feel about Halloween?
I used to fuck with Halloween, like as a kid.
Used to.
Yeah. Like now. Because I can't go out. Like I'm old. I got a mustache. Like I got bills. Like I can't go out and be like trick or treat with the pillowcase and get candy. Because that was the fun part when you had homies and you'd be like, yeah, we gonna get some bitches or some stupid shit at like a party. Like,
Right.
ain't nothing I can really do other than be the guy to be like, hey, here's some ramen noodles, kids. Happy Halloween. So now
That's
Halloween
true.
isn't fun to me. Now, honestly, I would say for me, my favorite holiday is
What?
Martin Luther King Day.
Would you consider? Is that like a? I guess that's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
Federally
Nah, I would say
recognized,
Juneteenth. Let's rephrase that. Juneteenth. Because I love explaining it to the white people at work when they're like, what is this Juneteenth? Why are we getting off? Why are you guys closed? And I'm like, it's when black people were freed from slavery. Would you like to hear about it? It's so fun to say.
Yeah. Okay, so it's all right. So that's like your favorite holiday. I would say that mine is probably. I like Christmas. I'm pretty traditional in that way. Christmas is cool.
Christmas is cool.
I think I'm more of a like Juneteenth. You don't get or MLK. There's no real atmosphere that you're getting with those. You're just getting. It's like a celebration of a fact. Just like July, like 4th of July.
4th of July.
I mean, 4th of July has more of a atmosphere because like cookouts and stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying. Just give Juneteenth like
10 years before.
Just give it like 20 years, bro. Trust me, it's gonna be Folly's gonna go up on Juneteenth.
So yeah, that's why I would say like Christmas is like my favorite. But Halloween definitely has a special place in my heart because it's always around my birthday. So like it's sort of synonymous with like, oh, my birthday's coming up. It's like Halloween time, fall. It's a triple
costume.
Hit. Or yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, I never celebrated Halloween up until I was like about 15ish. My I come from a traditionally Pentecostal Christian family, and Halloween
makes more sense now. Yeah, and
Halloween. Like, yeah, just like you were saying, like about how your mom's like, that's some demon shit. Put that,
yeah.
Yeah. For those of you who maybe haven't watched the episode, we were talking about the cover of was it Second Sight?
I think it was Second Sight.
Yeah, so we were just talking about the cover of it and how, Sondi's mom, or maybe my mom, would probably react in a way of just like, that game looks evil, so no, you're not fucking playing that.
I'm rebuking that, yeah.
Yeah, so I come from a household that was like very much like, yeah, we're not even celebrating Christmas. Like, we didn't celebrate anything.
Oh, wow.
So it was not until I was about late high school that we started to actually celebrate certain things. So yeah, like I don't have like a nostalgia for it the way other people do. My girlfriend's super into the holidays. Her family decorates the entire house. It's a whole thing, and she wants to go out and, go to pumpkin patches and like all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't have that attachment. So I'm like, I can give her.
I don't give a hoot nanny about that.
Yeah, like I'm just I could.
I'm surprised I got pumpkins and corn patches out there. I thought it would all be tumbleweeds and cactus farm.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
Every time I imagine your house is literally like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I showed you pictures and you.
I know there's actual grass, but it just feels like it's like when you say like, yeah, it's monsoon season, that it's like just a house in the middle of nowhere and then a big ass wave just comes and attacks it and you're like, yeah, bro, I'm just here.
Yeah, so celebrating a lot of holidays is like definitely new to me and not like a tradition in my family. So yeah, Halloween is I always liked the atmosphere. Like,
yeah.
Like, do you have like a favorite Halloween movie?
Yes.
Or
Friday the 13th.
Maybe not Halloween movie. Do you have like a favorite scary movie? I guess maybe that's just a broad.
Yeah, I guess that's. Yeah. Friday the 13th. Jason Goes to Manhattan. I think that's the name.
And that's your favorite.
Yes, because there's it's one scene where the black guy in the movie, he's like, I'm not going like this. So he's on a roof and he's fighting Jason and he's punching the shit out of him for like 3 minutes on a roof, and Jason's just eating him, just and he's just throwing his hardest haymakers, trying to punch this man's off the roof. And as soon as he gets to the end, he's like, "What's up? What's up?" And then Jason just goes bonk and knocks his whole head off. But you can tell it's like a mannequin head. And it's like, oh, it's so trash.
I've never, I haven't seen any of the Friday. That's another thing too. Growing up in a Pentecostal Christian family,
you ain't watched no scary movies.
A lot of American culture. Well, okay, so let me also add, a Pentecostal Christian family first generation immigrants. So my mom like crossed over here from Mexico when she was 10. So like
yes.
so like like there's not like growing up, and I think this is why so many things are like back of the rack for me is like I just didn't have a good sense of American culture. I don't I grew up very isolated and insulated. Although not to say that I wasn't like I was an outdoor kid. I'd always be playing outside and stuff, but like very like I wasn't.
You wasn't born into well, you were, but
like American, like like classic American songs or classic American cinema, even.
Yeah, because
like I'm like, oh, I've
my
never
dad
seen that.
indoctrinated me into like this lifestyle. Like he was like, "Hey, here's Dragon Ball Z. Hey, here's Naruto." Like I didn't like anime. My dad introduced me to anime. Same with video games. Like most of the stuff that I actually really like, he was like, "Hey, bro, check this out," and I'd be like, Dreamcast. Okay. Yeah. So it was really all on him. But like, yeah, I guess if you didn't have somebody, because that's why I love like 90s hip hop a lot. Like if you notice, like in a lot of like my videos, I like put like boom bap in the backgrounds because of him, because just listen to that stuff. But I guess you would just listen to.
Well, okay, so this is so
I was going to say Selena.
No. Well, like we didn't really grew up mainly in like Mexican culture, and then also being Pentecostal Christian, we were literally like separate from even Mexican popular culture. So like popular culture wasn't something that we could like I couldn't like we weren't listening to like Selena because that was music that wasn't of the church, Yeah. So like even Mexican like stuff like that, like we were kept separate from for like up until the age of like 10, and then my mom like separated from the church, and then she did her own thing, and then we started celebrating holidays and all that. So, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, maybe some of our viewers, I don't know if any of you like grew up in a very religious or stringent household that was strict, like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards. That shit was all evil. I didn't get a chance when I was younger to like really jump into that, and if I did, it was like in secret. Harry Potter was like devil worshipping, obviously like magic and all that stuff. It's really fascinating when I think back on it. But when I was younger, I'm like, this fucking, like, Batman was evil. I'm just like, I was like, what the like I had this Batman doll that was given to me as a birthday gift when I was maybe like 6 or something, and I brought it to my aunts, and they tossed that shit away. Like I was being like looked after. They tossed it away. Like, this is like the devil. This is like evil. Like, you shouldn't be worshiping. This is like idolship, So, yeah, I don't know. It's just like that. And then, yeah, so by extension, Halloween was a no-no for sure. So
here's another question. How did you get into Resident Evil, and which games have you played? Explain your Resident Evil backstory.
Yeah, okay. So the first Resident Evil I played was on GameCube.
You played the remake.
I played RE4.
Oh.
So that was like my first introduction to like the horror, that survival horror genre. And I had played I think I played a little bit of RE3 at a friend's house on the PS2, like at night, and maybe Dino Crisis. But I never owned that stuff. It was always like it was like a secondhand experience. Like, it was at someone's house or something, because I couldn't have that shit in my house. But my mom, being like the less religious and less strict, she bought me a GameCube, and like she didn't really like care too much about what games I was playing or anything like that. So RE4 I purchased, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy, this is amazing, I don't understand this is crazy. Like, and then that third person like perspective blew my mind, because it was just like, this is incredible, So that was probably, that was the first RE. And then like I got into Silent Hill even more. Silent Hill was like, Silent Hill's like my shit. I love Silent Hill. And then I started to really love horror games. I have a whole wall right here dedicated to like horror games that has framed art covers. From there I got into Siren, and then Fatal Frame, which is a fucking very atmospheric game. Clock Tower.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff, yeah. So I wouldn't say like I'm a like huge survival horror, like I've played them all, but like I really got into it, at that point.
So you kind of played Resident Evil, and then took that experience and expanded into the other more atmospheric survival games. Yeah,
I started to like love like the atmosphere of like Because you know how when you're a kid, like scary movies, they're compelling, they're terrifying, but like you're like, I want to fucking see what this is, but it's horrifying. But like kids are always curious. Like it's rare that you'll have like a kid that's like, no, I'm gonna have no interest in this at all. It's always like
interest in the horror movies until I saw Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Manhattan, because I thought they were scary. I was like, oh my god, no! I would scream, I would cry. Signs, when the alien walked across the fucking, that's not a horror movie, but like when it walked across the alleyway, I was like, oh my god! I used to freak out.
That's like sci-fi horror, right? That's like sci-fi.
Yeah. But it wasn't until that movie that I started to realize the same situation where I was curious, and I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and check out these horror movies. Let me watch randomly and stuff like that. But I feel you, I like those atmospheric games comparatively. Like Resident Evil, and we'll talk about it later.
Right. Yeah.
But Resident Evil is a more action-oriented survival horror compared to
like Silent Hill. Or like Clock Tower, Siren, which I mean came later. But so I do want to ask you since this is a Halloween special, I want to ask you a little bit about. I want to pick your brain a little bit. You know, I want to get into your psyche. I want to understand your fears. So what is your biggest fear, or if you want to just like list 3 fears that you have?
That's exactly what I was going to do, because I have to explain the irrationality of my 3 biggest fears. My 3 biggest fears in order from 3, 2, 1. Number 3, gorillas. Scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. I can't stand gorillas. Shits are scary. They can literally rip my arm off if they wanted to. Surprised Harambe didn't tear that kid to shreds like some ripped chicken. Like,
do you know where that fear comes from?
I don't know, Brad. Just gorillas. They're just.
And you've had it for as long as you can remember?
Yeah, like I just think because of the idea of like, yo, this is a whole beast that's like probably as smart as me, but just hiding it. And he can just like he can just throw my ass in 2 different ways and I'm gone. Second fear, deep sea creatures. Anything with deep sea terrifies me. Like, I Google deep sea creatures because I'm like, yeah, let me just see what's crazy out there. And then I go, oh, yeah, we don't know everything out there. And everything that we see is fucking terrifying. Number 1 is having an illegitimate child.
What?
See, it's very controllable. Every time I say that's my biggest fear, everybody goes, but you can control that. And I'm like, yes, but...
How many bitches you fucking?
No, just the idea that I'm sitting there, I'm watching the NBA draft in 20 years, and then they're like, the number 3, the Orlando Magic's choose Nolan Wicker Jr. And I'm like, he looks just like me, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck? What? And they're like, yeah, my father left my mom. I don't even know him. Fuck that guy. And then he goes on to become Michael Jordan 2.0, and I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? Like, I'm just afraid because I've heard horror stories. Like, I had a coworker that was like, yeah, I have like an emergency, a family emergency. I have to like leave for like the week. And then when he came back, the man's like, he was like, I was like, what happened? Like, everything good? Like, what's up with your family? And he was like, man, this is some bullshit, bro. So apparently he had some situation rendezvous the last time he went to Vegas, and the shawty found him, sent him a subpoena, and said, you owe him child support. And he was like, what? So he battled it, went to court, and did a DNA test. There was 3 other guys there. He did a DNA test. They had to read it in court like Maury Povich, tell him, you are not the father. You are not responsible. And he was like, man, what the fuck? I took off work, had to fly all the way to Vegas just to find out I'm not the father of some random one-night stand. And then leave and come back. And didn't even get family emergency pay. Just had to take off a week of work and not get paid. And I was like, damn, that's kind of scary, because what if it was true? Like, what if he was the father? See what I mean? See how scary that is? I don't know, man. That's an intense situation. And then I think about like, and then it doesn't help that like I egg myself on with like documentaries. Like, I watched a whole documentary on like red light district kids in Thailand. How like white men go over there, like war veterans, they go over there and they like have sex with hookers on like the red light district and they get pregnant. Like they go specific.
Yeah.
Like apparently, like there's people that go specifically out there to like inseminate women and just spread. Like they go to foreign countries and have my biggest fear for fun. And then I was watching a documentary and the kids are holding up pictures of their dads and they're like, "Hi, I want to be a doctor," and they're living in poverty. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so scary, bro. What are your 3 biggest fears?
Damn, that's so interesting though.
That's
Considering, was that in order of like?
Yeah, of like least to most scary. Yeah, that is literally my big, like that's will wake me up in like cold sweats more than the other 2.
And considering it's like a fear that you would, I mean, you're engaged.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm saying. It's a really controllable fear, but it's still a scary fear.
It's like, that's definitely irrational. that's irrational for sure.
You never know. I might go in a napkin, throw the napkin in the trash. Some hobo goes through my trash, wipes themselves with the napkin. Now they're pregnant. Now I got a hobo baby. I don't know. I don't make the rules of nature.
I'll tell you one of my biggest fears, because I can't remember. I don't even. I'm like, what are my 3? But I have one that I know for sure, and it's one that's I couldn't pin down until more recently, and that would be sort of like the pursuit of pleasure or hedonism, or well, let me explain what I'm talking about. Okay, so
you lost me.
Let's say that you have a friend and they are all about, you know, experimenting with like drugs or something, right?
Oh,
and
so
they're just like trying, they're just like trying to numb something, so like they're pushing it. Or let's say that you and a friend are drunk and like they just keep going, but it's like, dude, you're already drunk. Like, why are you
know your limits?
Yeah, or let's just say like you're having sex with somebody and like they just want more, and you're like, you're not satisfied.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's eating food and they're just eating and eating and they're just like,
so like you have just like a fear of like gluttony, like in general.
Yeah, just like, yeah, like in that general sense, people overdoing like pleasure. Like that's scary to me for some reason. It's like to my core, it's a weird fear, but it's very uncomfortable to me. Like, what do you like? I don't know. Like it's so strange. Like seeing people like just like said, give in.
You're not depressed enough for me. I don't know what's going on. Why are you happy?
Like it's weird. Not like people.
I know what you
just
mean.
Just like not having that self-restraint, you know, like seeing people really like just like when I saw so I was at work one day and I told you about it, but there was a like a kid that had like shot up heroin or something outside of like the back door at my work, and he was just laying there like fucking just obviously feeling good, but just it's like sad. It's like, dude, I'm sure
you don't have like the perception of like what other people are seeing around you, and it's like you're just enjoying like, that, but you're like, dude, you're fucked up.
Yeah, like I'm sure the feeling is great. I'm sure it's fantastic, and that's why people do it. But it's just like to see people like so indulgent like that. It's just like that's terrifying to me.
Yeah,
like that, like lack of self-discipline, that kind of stuff. You know? Yeah, that's I don't know why. That's just so. Yeah, you've seen the movie.
The movie. I'm sorry. Don't come. Ever since they legalized weed, bro, people been out in the streets. They've been naked, running around. It's like crackheads.
It's bad here too. It's just we have a lot of like homeless that are just out on the streets doing whatever. We have a heroin problem here for sure. What's the movie called? Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, so Requiem for a Dream is I think I want to say like 2000s film, and it's like a movie about just like drug addiction, people being addicted to drugs, the whole movie, and like pills and like other things that people would be addicted to, that like they overdo it and they let it consume them. And I think that aspect of humans is like very terrifying to me.
I feel you. There's a couple movies. There's like a subgenre of that, like kids or like bully, nymphomaniac. Like there's like
Nymphomaniac is
that's
like
another
that
good example
aspect.
where it's just like, bro, stop.
Yes, yeah, and that's terrifying. That's scary to me. That's also it's very sad. It's like a mix of like sad and like it's just like the state of humanity. You know, sometimes it's like we do things to kind of relieve the stress of the day or relieve the stress of your life in from your past and stuff, and like some people overdo it.
Speaking of overdoing it,
yeah,
Resident Evil 6. I always got to think of a weird segue. We can just talk about
good.
Yeah,
that was good.
That was a great segue. Look at us. We did this is natural, man.
If I could dab you up right now. Okay. So today's episode is Resident Evil 6. Cue the trailer.
Come on, I got you. How are you feeling?
More games.
Not quite. Just something I think you would benefit from knowing.
What the hell is all this?
None of these were here 3 days ago.
Is this what you wanted to show me?
C-virus. That's what the guerrillas were calling it.
C-virus. It must be what's creating those Chihuahua.
What happened?
Another bioterrorism attack. The BSAA confirmed it was the same one used in Eastern Europe 6 months ago called the C-virus.
Hunnigan, I need you to fake our deaths. Can you do that?
What are you going to do?
We're going to China. Sherry, what are you doing here?
I'm on protective detail. Why are you here?
I'm tracking the men behind all this.
What? We met? No, you jarheads all look the same to me, pal. Sorry. You know, those shots of yours pack one hell of a punch, lady.
So, you're Wesker Jr.
You lost me.
Albert Wesker was a colossal imbecile. A fool who tried to destroy the world. He was also your father, which makes you heir to a very special blood type. Here's something to remember you by.
No, goddammit! Captain!
Looking for me, boys?
You can't run forever.
Put your gun down, Chris. She's a key witness. We need her.
A witness! She's the one who did all this!
Resident Evil 6.
Let's first talk about the first time, your history with Resident Evil 6. Where did you first hear about it, or when did you first play it? Yeah, give me your experiences.
So
As we typically do with every episode, we talk about like, where you started.
I'm a Resident Evil head. Other than like Revelations 1 and 2, I've played mainline.
Yeah.
I've played every single Resident Evil, front to back, except for 6. I played only through Leon's campaign, and this is my first time actually beating the whole game. I went through Leon's campaign, and then I said, I think because I was playing Dragon's Dogma. Then all the stipulation with all the stipulation with Capcom at the time, because that was like the weird time during the 360 era, where like people were angry that like DLC was already on the disc and just locked away. And I think this was one of the games, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Ashura's Wrath. Like there was a couple games, Lost Planet 2. I know it, especially because I was playing a lot of Lost Planet 2. There's a lot of games during that era that had like, especially Capcom, that had DLC locked on disc. And I think, especially with the giraffe getting a blowjob 6 logo, all the controversy with that, it just kind of, I was just like, I'm good. I'll just play Dragon's Dogma.
Just real quick, let me stop you. What is this I've heard of this controversy with the Resident Evil 6 logo, but I don't know about it. Maybe the audience doesn't know about it. What? Explain this controversy. What are you talking about?
All right.
Because I'm gonna add before you say anything. I think that the whole like that 6 is cool.
I do.
thought
The 6 is really cool. The 6 is really
so
cool.
I'm like, what's happening here?
But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Years later, I still can't unsee it. Let me grab my disc really fast.
Oh man.
All right.
Fuck.
I want you to look at the disc, okay? You see it? This is the giraffe. And it's holding the head of the thingy giving it a blowjob, and that's his little dingling.
Oh my god.
You can see it now, right?
I can see it, yes.
Yeah, you can see it now, right? And now you can never unsee it. Too bad. I'm sorry. I just ruined your life. I'm sorry. No, it won't show out well in like the podcast because my camera's going to be reversed, but just look at the box and you'll see it. But
I'll point it out in the
it's only it sucks for me because somebody took the time out to draw it and outline it and like add details, and then I was with it in the middle and I was like, stop, because I was the same way. I was like, what are you talking? Everybody keeps saying this, but I don't know what you're talking about. But then I saw that and I was like, But yeah, Resident Evil 5 is one of my top 10 games of all time. That was my first Resident Evil. And then I went,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went back retroactively. I played 4, played 3, played 2, played 1, played Remake, played 0, Code Veronica. I've played them all. Personally, I like the lock camera original trilogy more than this game. I mean, more than, this trilogy of games with the third-person camera. Yeah, I dig it more that way. But to each his own. And Resident Evil 6 still, even then when I played it, because it was years after, I still felt like, this is a great game. What's going on? Why do I not like this?
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 was my first one, as I mentioned. And I think I didn't really know anything about Resident Evil. It's like one of those, again, like a very, insulated upbringing. So like, when I first played it, I was like, this is, what is this? This is, no one, how come no one talks about this? At school, like, because at school, like, I remember the kids would be like, hey, Call of Duty this or some other game, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Nah, this is cool. And from there, like I wouldn't say I'm a Resident Evil head. I do love this series, but I haven't played them all, so I can't really be like, I've played all the Silent Hills, and I would say that I'm a Silent Hill head, but definitely not a RE head.
Yeah.
But I actually did buy Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil Remastered for the PS4 when I bought RE6. Because I'm like, I want to play these, and obviously it is the season to play like a locked camera angle, mansion dwelling, scary game. So
first person staring at stuff. No,
I also bought Resident Evil 3, the remake too. But I've been looking to buy Resident Evil the original on PS1, 2, and 3, but they're expensive, and I'm like, fuck this shit. And I want the physical ones. I don't want to buy the digital PS1, so I'm just kind of like waiting for that opportunity for them to like maybe be in a lot that's like worth it or something. So
I got mine from a PlayStation 2 lot, and for some reason they just threw in Resident Evil Director's Cut, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. Okay, I'm not going to complain, but I would say you're not missing anything from playing RE1 compared to playing RE1 Remake. Though RE1 Remake does feel better if you've played the original RE1, because they add things and switch around patterns thinking that you already know RE1. So like it's really fun to go back if you play RE1, then play RE1 Remake, then you'll be like, oh shit, this is different. Oh man, this is different. Like they add like a whole extra third of the game to like the remake. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should tell us if you guys are, Resident Evil fans or maybe Silent Hill fans, or if there's like a horror franchise, maybe Dead Space. They're making the Dead Space remake. And I didn't even really realize that many people liked Dead Space. But when this Dead Space like remake was announced, it seemed like there was a lot of fan fervor for this to be done. I'm like, oh, wow. So there's like a lot of fans for this. Okay, because I was a huge fan of it because it felt like RE4, just like more, spacey.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say it is essentially, especially Dead Space 2 is essentially Resident Evil 6, but in space.
But doesn't that one's the like loved one. People love Resident Evil or Dead Space 2,
And that's the funny part.
That's it's so weird. Yeah, it is. Which is something I want to ask you. So I think because Back of the Rat Games often like we'll be covering pretty much the black sheep of any given franchise, and RE6 is definitely that in this. Like, when do you judge a game on its own merits and not on like the history, like the contextual history of it?
Yeah. See, this is different though, because this game specifically, like, it takes upon, like, you have Leon and Sherry from Resident Evil 2. You got Chris from Resident Evil 1. You got Ada. You got the action of Resident Evil 4 and 5 with Chris. Like, you have all these elements from like the entire 1 through 5 saga, and like the way like the enemies you're fighting, the BSSA, like everything is all combined into one, that you kind of can't just take this game in its own merit without having the context and the story and past tense from the other 5 games from like mainline games, at least from this point forward. You know what I mean? Because because Final Fantasy 12, like, unlike Final Fantasy 12, which we're covering this month, you can take Final Fantasy 12, and if you took off the name Final Fantasy 12 and just renamed it Rabbinaster, the story of the saga of the Sky Pirates or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it would still be a great JRPG, you know what I mean? But
I think that's a good answer, because like it does have the 6 on it, and everything is based on your prior knowledge of the series. Like Leon's in there, Ada, their relationship. It's
the aftermath of Wesker 5. We should probably preface this by saying spoilers for the entire series of Resident Evil up until 6. But
this is absolutely spoiler territory everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Because you can't talk about Resident Evil 6 without spoiling the Resident Evil 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah. So, sorry, guys. We're about to be like, whoa, Wesker's dead. What are you talking about? Spoilers.
That really got me thinking just about how people, will really like chastise a game because it's like the worst in the franchise, but removed from the franchise, like it's still a good game.
Yeah, that's how Yeah, I guess a good example of this is DMC, the Devil May Cry reboot by Team Ninja. That is also still a great game, but everybody in the DMC franchise don't like it. It's great gameplay, really great gameplay, I would say, especially during the re-release when they added a bunch of stuff. I guess just the context of 3 and 4 coming out right beforehand, which are what a lot of people say before 5 came out was the best the series has ever been and ever will be. And then you drop DMC, and then it was gone for so long that it was kind of like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I guess, if speaking of our favorite, franchises like Dynasty Warriors.
Dynasty Warriors 6 is another one.
Yeah,
also with the 6 in his name.
Yeah, and when I think about like maybe what I'm trying to think of like the worst Dynasty Warriors game I've played, where I'm like, this is just not what I want from the series. And honestly, 5 was the most disappointing because it took away a lot of what I come to expect from the series. And I think that's what it is with RE6, was that the expectations of like, okay, it's going to be probably this and this, but it wasn't. Or if it was like geared towards too many people, but we'll get more into that. But so I guess I do understand. I just kind of wanted to put that out because that is like a very fascinating thing where it's like, well, the game is the worst in this franchise, but it's still a great game on its own, or, like whatever.
Yeah. I do know a little bit about the development of it, a little bit. The Ada campaign, because I could have swore it was, but yeah, it was. So the Ada campaign originally was DLC.
Oh, I thought it was
No, It was like, 'cause remember I was telling you about like how like Capcom had like all the DLC on the disc already, and you just unlock it. That was Ada's campaign. It was originally DLC, but then the backlash from all the other ones, they were just like, do a patch real quick, just make it free, just patch it in real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason I was under the impression that because I played it when it first came out, and I thought I remembered like it being the secret campaign after you beat everybody else's.
Yeah,
But maybe you're right. Given
because I
to
think
like
Ashura's Wrath, I think that was around the time that like, because that was the biggest thing with Ashura's Wrath was that the actual ending was DLC. Like it just ends on a cliffhanger and just goes download the DLC.
that's right.
Yeah,
I didn't. Damn, that's a game I need to buy, and I want that. I saw it, and I was like, oh, this looks sick. But that's when like I feel like the audience is gonna hate me because the gaming community definitely doesn't like QTE events, and I thought they were like kind of cool because it was like
they're amazing.
Like they were so well animated. I was like, these are always so badass.
Does their when it comes to the QTEs, especially like the whole Storm series, like it was amazing playing them, and you'd be like, oh, look at them, they're clashing their fireballs.
Yeah, and it was like just beautifully rendered and animated, and I was like, this is so cool, you know. And it's, I don't know, there's a lot of hate for QTEs, but I think rightfully so because it can be like misused just like any tool in any game, you know. And RE6 definitely has some QTEs, but let's talk more a little bit about like the development, or maybe not development, but more of like who produced this and who directed it. I have here that Ichiro Sasaki, he was Capcom's like backup director because everyone else was not available, and I think he's probably the reason that we got the product that we did with RE6. Honestly,
yeah.
Go on.
I was about to say, looking at his like videography, he his first directorial role, because he was a programmer on the first two Resident Evils and a planner on we don't count the third one, the first two Dino Crises. And then he finally became a producer around Devil May Cry and the remake for Resident Evil, and he pretty much got like the B-side producer wise on like everything else with like, except for Resident Evil 4, that's when he finally took over. But yeah, he did like Devil Kings, Killer 7, the Sengoku Basara series. I think he did the entire Sengoku Basara series.
In what capacity? Like
Producing.
directorial or producing? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then this was when he was the executive producer. This is his only executive producer role other than Mega Man 11.
That's interesting. Who directed Resident Evil 5? Who was the game director on that?
Not him. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't him. But I'm curious because who was 4 or 5? Yeah, 4 and 5. Who directed those?
Yasuhiro Anpo and Kenichi Ueda.
The way you said that. Yeah, I'm like, no confidence in how you said that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't.
I'm surprised, considering you like anime so much, and
I've been listening to the English dub when they be like, "Hey, my name is Adam Watanabe."
Yeah, what is it in Persona where her name is On
Tamaki or something of the sort?
I think it's Takamaki, but like you say it differently in Japanese, or Takamaki. They say it like Takamaki, but in Japanese it's Takamaki or something like that, and it's just like it's funny, just like that. The emphasis on different vowels or whatever, but yeah. So I didn't do too much digging on the development side of this.
Yeah, I'm trying to bullshit my way right now through the time. I'm trying to find something on the development because I don't know nothing about it. I couldn't find much like some like interviews about what they were trying to go for. And apparently like they had the idea to do the split campaigns, but they essentially bit off more than they could chew. And they were just like, oh fuck. Even though it was a team of 600 people, which is insane. It's like, what? Maybe they needed more time, but like it's just interesting. And then I think there was also an interview with the producer where he's saying like he wanted to make
the survival horror market was too small for Resident Evil because it was becoming too successful. And around like this, what, seventh generation?
Yeah, you had Alone in the Dark, Alan Wake, Dead Space, Left 4 Dead, technically, Resident Evil. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
But like around that time too, you had the rise of military third person or first person shooters
And third person
like,
shooters with Gears of War too.
Yeah, they wanted to fucking cash in on some of that.
Yeah,
you know, and he's like, yeah, we want to make like horror entertainment, like a fucking thrill ride, like or something, you know. And what's interesting about it, well, my girlfriend watched me play most of the campaigns, by the way, I will say. So she had a lot of interesting comments as an outsider, you know.
Yeah, somebody that doesn't really know the whole Resident Evil franchise that could be like, no.
yeah, she was very frustrated. She's like, what is how or who's that?
I
Why?
feel that context where she's like, Leon? Chris? Like, she could probably be like, who? How do they know each other? What? Yeah. Honestly, that's the biggest plot point for me, where I'm like, how the fuck do they know each other, other than the fact that Leon was in Raccoon City
Claire?
with his sister? Yeah. Other than that.
Yeah. Okay, so see, I thought I was missing something too, but we'll get into like those story elements because there's a lot of like weird shit where I'm like, huh? But yeah, we don't really have too much for like the development, which I think is okay. Let's just jump into like the presentation from here. Unless you have maybe something else to add.
Other than the fact that this was they released a demo with Dragon's Dogma, like, and you know,
oh yeah,
I do remember that. Yeah. As I read that, I was like, yeah, I do remember that being on the disc, but I was too busy playing Dragon's Dogma to be like, all right, let me play a Resident Evil 6 demo. I was like, no, this shit is fun.
Yeah,
really, I would cover Dragon's Dogma, but we can't add that to the list.
Yeah, it's not back of the rack enough.
Or
you know what? We could talk about it later, but I feel like you could make a case because that's another game that I didn't realize had as much love as it did or as it does.
Yeah,
like where I'm like, wait, people, because I remember buying it and like again, like I just had a bunch of friends that played like mainstream games, so like whenever I bought something,
I was the same way. I would play this and I'm like, dude, check out Dragon's Dogma, and they're like, anyway, we're on this thing called League of Legends now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exactly around the time. Yeah, you're right. That's so funny.
Yeah, or Skyrim. They'd be like, no, bro, we're playing Skyrim. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I guess.
Yeah, Skyrim was Dragon's Dogma was very interesting. Maybe we'll talk about maybe doing an episode on that. But
maybe.
Yeah. Season 5.
Season 8.
Yeah, so for presentation, this is like the section where we, typically talk about the look and style of the game, the graphical quality, UI elements, things like that for anybody who doesn't watch this or listen to the podcast. So what were your thoughts on some of the presentation elements?
I would say this game looks really, really good still. I don't know if it's just because we played the PS4 version of the game, but this the PS3 version of the game. But it looks so good. Like the lighting effects on them, especially when you get into China and the lighting through the like windows and glass, you can see it. It's amazing with the explosions that come off. Yeah, you can tell the dirt doesn't feel like it's like placed on them as like a bitmap on their character sheet. It's like actual dirt on them, and it feels nice. Yeah,
I thought when I played this on the PS3 originally, I was like blown away by how good especially like the scenes are so well directed. They have such a like a cinematic style and a flair, and it's very consistent throughout. And like they're just so well lit, and whatever, like I don't know what engine they switched to or because it's like the same engine, but like when it cuts to a cutscene in game, it looks like maybe like 30% better.
Yeah,
like obviously because it's like pre-rendered, but it's the same engine, you can tell. And I'm just like, that looks fat. And a lot of like the set pieces, like when Leon and Chris face off, like they just stick out in your mind. Like they're just very like.
And the camera work is really nice on everything. Yeah. It adds to the punch. Like if you duck, you actually see the camera like duck to like their toes, so you can see like whatever was attacking that you were ducking, dodging, or like sliding through stuff. The camera pans way behind you and like gets really intimate, so you can see the blades falling over top of you, or even which one, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was, yeah, when Jake in his silly motorbike section, when you were jumping from like rooftops to rooftops, like you could feel like, whoa, the sense of scale when it came to everything. It made it much more.
Yeah, there was a great
it.
use of like that stuff for sure, and there, I think that was like a point where I realized, I'm like, damn, video games do take a lot from movies, like just the way like they're trying to style like scenes and stuff. You know, it was more because, okay, let's just say, you know, Skyrim, like it's a first person view, and what team was it? Bethesda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they always have like that, you know, Bethesda jank, you know, in their games, but like that's kind of how I thought games like would tell their stories in like this very rigid kind of sense. But like, you know, Ari has developed a like very cinematic look to it, and I think RE6 was like the culmination of like that, you know, cinema scope look, and I was like, damn, is this like really just sexy, you know, like it just looks so good. And what's interesting too is like, even though the cutscenes are like pre-rendered and like look better, even like in-game models and stuff like that really looked good. I did notice like a lot of the environments are like really dark, like blacked out, and it's like seems to be hiding a lot of like the lower res JPEG images that they're using. But I did get some gameplay of like where I thought like the atmosphere and like the graphics and lighting really came together in game, because I mean that's what the series is known for. So it's cool like when they have those corridors, or like there's a place in China, like, you know, that I thought like just looked really cool.
I think there was one. Yeah, I would say that one spot after Chris and Piers leaves the building that gets blown up.
Oh yeah.
I think you play as Ada, and you're in the blown up building, and you can just see the crater and everything around it, and it's kind of it hits a little bit more. You're like, wow, this is crazy. I think especially because at that point, like Chris and Piers is like fighting the helicopter, and then Jake and Sherry are at the bottom. And even on both perspectives, you can feel the chaos of the whole situation and how it felt at that point. Like everything worked together in the environment. Like the environment didn't feel contrived. Like, you know how certain games make stuff specifically for like, oh, this is just going to be the hidden room. Like even hidden rooms that had like a figurine or the thingy the little metal that you shoot. Like, or just extra skill points and stuff. They all felt like an actual place that you would go to and leads to like different areas. It felt nice that the entire environment felt, even on consecutive playthroughs through the same areas, felt different, but the same.
Are you trying to say that they felt like the level design, like it was realistic, or it just felt, okay. Yeah.
Like it felt familiar, especially during certain playthroughs, like when you're playing Leon's campaign and you go through that one spot before you meet Ada, and then you do it through Chris's campaign and you go through the same spot. It feels familiar because the first time I fucked up and Chris got in the elevator before me. And then on Chris's playthrough, I got through it really fast and got in the elevator before Leon, and I was like, hey.
So I like that you mentioned in the notes here that the UI elements for each campaign is different, and that's something that I was pointing out to my girlfriend as she was watching.
She probably was just like, the what?
No, she I think she really does listen to me when it comes to like games, and I try to like teach her. But she really enjoyed Jake's HUD, essentially, you know, like
the little like green Game Boy Green.
Yeah, but I thought that was really cool. Like I always loved that little aspect that everybody had like their, because I feel like it's an attention to detail that they could have been lazy and just been like, everybody gets the same one. It's going to be like a default one. But like to add that sort of, you get the sense that someone at Capcom on the development team was like, hey, I want to work on like this little detail, and I'm going to like make sure each character feels unique, you know? Because you get like a lot of that little stuff that doesn't feel like it was rushed. Because like, why would they focus like, hey, I'm just gonna add these, you know, make it unique for each character or whatever.
Yeah, then they have the crosshair shooting, and then they also have you can go into settings and change it back to the like RE4 and 5 laser pointer shooter. I thought that was really cool.
What'd you use?
I used the cursor because I tried using the laser pointer for like 5 minutes, and I was like, it's too much red. Especially when you're in China.
It was like hard. I was like, I can't really see it.
That's why I was like, yeah, nah. I remember why it's not fun to play Resident Evil 5 no more.
Resident Evil 4 had like it was like a bigger like red beam, and I remember being a little kid and just loving that, like just the way Leon was holding it, and
you
like,
would actually move.
Like I loved that so much. I thought it was so cool. But like here, it doesn't feel the same. As I'm like, it's fine. I'm just gonna do like the cursor or the like crosshairs.
I guess because of the mobility of everything and the fact that you can move, you can do a whole jump back slide.
And it disappears when you shoot too. So I'm like, wait, where the fuck am I shooting now? Like after like if you're really fucking
hammering it on.
unloading.
What was the tongue? That's another thing. The monster transformation. Speaking of unloading, like sometimes I don't know if you noticed, like when you would shoot like a monster and like miss his head, you shoot his like its arm would transform into the giant thingy, and then you'll shoot the other arm, it'll transform into the other thingy, or you'll shoot its legs and it'll become a spider or like transform into the flying one. Like depending on where you shot the monsters, I like that they became like different mutations and it kind of reacted off kilter to whatever you did.
I think that's an element that I've seen because I watched a lot of like videos on like what people thought about RE6, and that's an element that I didn't see anyone talk about, was the fact that like the monster or the Yavo, I think that's what they're called, which are like zombie-like in nature, but like they're also like insectoids when you shoot them. Essentially, it's like the C virus has mutated to a certain point in their body, and they can become like these grotesque insects. Yeah. And it's like so scary, like not in the game, but when you think about it and look at them, they're scary because it's just like they're like giant like spiders and grasshoppers, and it's like disgusting. Especially like the way they transform. The animations are so good. Like they're just like
you should have got in his stomach. Like you should have got a shotgun in his stomach, and then he'll just lay there, and then his whole torso will rip out, and just his bottom part will be like dangling as he
flying.
Freaking
that's terrifying.
That's crazy. Or like the ones when they're like on the ceiling holding the hostages, and you're like, yo!
They're like giant spiders, and it's like that's like okay, like not to get too like sentimental, but like they are people. That's a person that is
like they're alive humans, and I'm killing them.
Yeah, and they're just like turning into these insects and like doing the bidding of whoever, and it's just like that's fucked up. Like I'm just fucking cat.
Yeah, especially when it become like the lizards or like the giant
what
busters. I don't know what the fuck that was about, but that was the scariest lizards? Part. Yeah, the lizards. I was like, yo,
what?
Anytime they would crystallize into that thingy, I was like, it's a lizard coming. Let me just go ahead, reload my shotgun really fast.
The lizards sucked there, but I thought the designs were very like inventive, and I thought that was like really cool. When they like combust and then shell up into a cocoon and then turn into like the lizards or like those big hulking like like gorilla. Yeah, that was cool. Like just watching them go and then just like that I think there was like a good it's very good sound design because you can like hear like the
even if they're out of the camera, you can hear it and go, okay, something crystallized in the background. I need to prepare.
But that's something I've only appreciated now, because I remember back then I was like, I kind of just want zombies. I don't care about all these fucking like Joavo type things, Yeah,
and I think that's why I didn't mind them. I guess this playthrough is because after playing RE5, like I played it again and I realized that like I think it is the Joavo virus in there, but like if you shoot somebody's head off in Resident Evil 5. Like they can just pop out a whole tentacle monster, or like this the same way in Resident Evil 5, and it gets crazier and crazier as the game goes on. But I guess compared to Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 4, like Resident Evil 4, they felt like you shoot their head off, they'll still move and they'll still swing at you, but like they're dead. But in Resident Evil 5, like it's a nice evolution, I would say.
Yeah. But I think overall, just animation work on the zombies is really good. The animation work on each character has like their own kick and melee attack.
Yeah, and like they have their own dashing attack, their own like
everybody feels unique.
Yeah, especially Jake, because his knife is the hand. Like the whole time, it's funny. It wasn't until the final boss that I realized, oh, if I hold LT, it's a whole nother I can do like combos and shit. I would just be like pressing RT and be like, why is he always doing this kick? Why are they telling me to hold RT?
Yeah, they don't really explain a lot of that stuff, but it's just a lot went into the presentation to make it really feel like premium. Each character does do a different kick. Everybody has different weapons, although there is some like cross-pollination with like the type of weapons you get throughout the campaigns.
Yeah, everybody's going to get a shotgun. Everybody's going to get a rifle. Everybody's going to get an AR. It's just different types of AR. It's like Jake and Chris's. Well, Jake and Ada's can shoot rockets, or meanwhile Chris gets a whole rocket launcher.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I think just that aspect of it is really like it's confusing because it's like, well, like you guys clearly put some love in it. Like it wasn't lazy, because they could have gave everybody like the same guns, the same animations, but they gave everybody like, Elena has she's got the Hydra gun.
The double barrel.
The little she had, I think it's triple. It's like and like when you do the quick shot with her, she does like a whole like move set, and it's like they put a little bit of love into this.
Pizzazz in there.
Like when they didn't have to, they could have just been like, well, fuck it, it's fine.
Yeah, I also like the interconnectivity of like the cutscenes, like with Ada's campaign, like after you fight the chainsaw weird thingy, and then you hop on the train, and then you just watch the plane crashing over top, and then you realize that in Leon's story, it's like that's the same cutscene where she's on top of the train, and during Leon's campaign, you're like, why the fuck is she just on a random train? Like, what is she doing? But it makes more sense now when you look at it in hindsight, especially with which Ada that is.
As far as like all like the intersections for the story, them all seeing the plane crash, I think ties it all like pretty like well, like it ties it together very well, and I think it's really cool.
Yes.
Would you say that there's like an order in which best to enjoy these games? Because or not these games, these campaigns and the full story. Because I went Leon, Chris, Ada, Jake. What'd you do?
I went in order. I went Leon, Chris, Jake, Ada. Honestly, I feel Leon has to go first because it sets the precedent a little bit. It's a nice build-up tension. I guess let's just move into story. But yeah. We can go to story. Yeah. It's a nice build-up tension from the beginning with like how slow it starts out, seeing the president die, walking. Like it felt like OG Resident Evil. Moving into the catacombs, like how scary everything felt. It felt nice. And then when you get to the RE5 and 6 version of everything with the chaos and action going through China, it still felt good. And even the 6-stage final boss that you had, even that still felt fun and through it all. Like if it was just Leon's campaign, let me rephrase that. There's 2 campaigns that I feel like if it was just them 2, that this game would have been like it wouldn't have been panned, like either Leon's or Jake's. But I guess we'll break down Leon's a little bit more before we go into the next couple ones.
This I'm gonna make a Koei cast. Okay, so you know how in
you're about
Dynasty
to make me mad.
Warriors,
oh my god!
listen to me. I'm doing this on purpose. So you know how this is the Dynasty Resident Evil. Okay, so because you don't have many games where you get to play different aspects of the same timeline.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
you know what
Dynasty
I'm saying?
Wars. Yeah.
The
like,
Shu Wei, and this is.
I see what you mean now.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. I had to make it. Now we have an obligation to make these comparisons.
We're sponsored.
Getting all blurry here. Yeah. So the story. Let's start with Leon.
I didn't like Helena as a character. I didn't like Helena at all. Like, if you replace Helena with Shiva, nothing.
Interestingly, yeah, they didn't bring her back. I thought that was interesting that they decided to create new characters for these. Like, why?
Yeah,
why
like
not just
Piers and Jake, they were okay. They were perfectly okay. But Helena, because she never shows up ever again. So that's why I felt like, to me, contrived that they just even brought her up or anything. Like, that's why I felt like if it was Shiva and this was her sister, it would have felt a little bit more impactful, because we know Shiva. We just went through Resident Evil 5 with Shiva, and then seeing her sister die and all this stuff like that. You got a connection. She's also got another connection to Chris. Leon's got a connection to Chris. It's a whole... It would have been a better send-off when they finally meet back up and they're like, what the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah. I played as Helena in Leon's in campaign because I've played as Leon before. And yeah, like her whole story is basically that she's forced to do something for Simmons, which is the main antagonist of the game, to save her sister, who is injected with the C virus, and then that's kind of it. Like, and she's like stringing Leon along, which feels very contrived, because she's just like, I'll tell you once we do this, and he's like, okay, I'll just tag along, and it's just like, no, dude, why would you waste your time?
You guys fought zombies, and she just keeps going like, I'll explain everything when we get to the catacombs, and you're like,
too many people say that. Too many people say that. Like, there's a cutscene where they run in, like they have a run-in with Ada. I think it's in like the catacombs or something, and like Leon, rightfully so, is like, Ada, what is going on here? And Ada's like, it's too long, or it's too much to explain. And Helena just got finished telling him that like a chapter ago, and it's just like, oh my god, just is someone gonna explain something?
Yeah, like, and it's not like she didn't already find out the information. Like, she's just coming out the lab finding out the same information. So it's like, just tell them, bro. Like, what's stopping you guys? Yeah, and it sort of just made me realize that the story, at its core, everything that sets everything in motion is based off of Simmons' love for Ada and his like rejection of her. Because I was reading into it a little bit in the archives or whatever, the collection. Wait, did he love Ada, or was it?
There's like a section like in the, like the cool serpent emblems that you shoot and you find. Yeah, so that unlocks things in like the archive or like the collections, and it like one of them is talking about Simmons and Ada and their relationship, and it says that Ada, like, Simmons had some sort of attachment to her, and once Ada found out that Simmons like was doing some end of the world type shit or conquer the world type shit, she like decided not to work for him, and he took that harshly and tried to recreate her and like wanted and it evolved from there. What's your understanding?
Because I thought that he used Ada as like a test subject, and then turned his wife into Ada, and that's why we got the 2 Ada twist. That's what I thought, because I know that she's not Ada, that she's this other girl. And there's pictures of them, and they're all like giddy and stuff like that. So I thought that he transformed her into Ada, and then she was just like, yeah. You know what I mean?
I didn't find the emblem that unlocked that part of the story, so I can't confirm with you. But one of the emblems did say that like he took it harshly that Ada left him because like he thought that Ada was the only woman that had like the same intellectual prowess as him. So like he took that as a slight and he wanted revenge against her. So it's possible that what he did was to infect his wife to turn her into Ada, and then she got pissed and like flipped on him, or however you want to put it,
and then put everything into motion somehow. Yeah.
Back to Leon's campaign. So Leon's campaign is the most atmospheric and the most like, callbacks to like what RE fans love.
Yeah, there's slow moving zombies. Well,
just in the beginning.
Slow moving zombies.
It is limited.
Yeah, even when you get to China, and plagues already started. There's zombies everywhere, so it still feels like, whoa. So it felt nice. There was a lot of set pieces, but to my fairness, it felt like the most like it deserved it. Like you're on Air Force One, and the one monster can spread the gas, and he affects everybody on the plane. And you're like, oh shit, it's too late. Crash the plane. You're in here. All this shit's happening. Simmons is a dog now. I don't know. Like it felt like a good ramp up in complexity.
Leon's felt like the most natural, but also it had like the least information about what was going on.
And that's the issue. That's what I was going to say. That's the issue, is that it doesn't explain anything to you, but it's the best feeling campaign.
Yeah. It had the best set pieces, I think. You know, you have the part that you're explaining, which is, well, okay, so you have that part where they leave the university, because you start out in like a college campus, right? There's like some sort of event happening for the president or something there, and then like they have to shoot the president.
Yeah, because he gets infected. Everybody gets infected there.
Yeah, so they're like trying to escape, and they get to like outside the campus, and like all this chaos is happening, and like the music is like really cool, like it's really unique and feels like it finds its stride in this moment in terms of like chaos and tone and everything. And you have, it feels like my girlfriend said that like it felt like a roller coaster ride, like a 3D, because like you're just walking and like all this chaos is happening and you're shooting things, cars are crashing.
Yeah. You go to a pawn shop, the dude gets taken out the window. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And I would have loved to see more of that. But that's all you really get. And then from there, I think it starts to, in the other campaigns, which aren't like as evenly like balanced, it feels like to your point, it ramps up in a way that feels natural. And I think that like the scene I was just describing sort of propagates that. It like lets it like, okay, shit's about to really get crazy now, and you kind of feel it, and you can temper your expectations, because like you fight a big ass like fat guy that's on like the roof, the fat zombie.
Yeah.
And then like you hop on the bus, and then you go to like the cemetery, which is like, it's hard to put it into words, but Leon's campaign has the most moments where you can breathe, and then it takes you into like an action set piece, and then it gives you a quiet moment.
I think Leon's campaign feels better because it's all in one take. Like everything happens front to back. There's no flashback. Yeah. There's no flash forward. There's no, oh, this happened 6 months ago. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything happened immediately after each other to the end, and it felt like, okay, this is the story. That's why I felt like that was the best one to go into.
I think they could have. We'll just kind of like, we'll kind of like cross about. We'll kind of talk about the gameplay a little bit here, but each campaign, there's 4, right? Chris, Leon's, Jake's, and Ada's. They each have a co-op element, and I'm wondering if maybe some of these stories and like the balance would have been better if it was just a single, like just Leon, and just write his campaign out without Helena, and just Chris without Pierce.
Because that's how Ada's campaign feels. Because you don't need there's no extra person you need for Ada's campaign, and hers feels nice. I guess because you don't have to wait for anybody.
Yeah, and it feels like more her, like. You don't, because each character sort of feels like just a tag along. Like we have to put this because it's co-op. We need to put somebody.
You gotta have the door and come on, let's double kick it. Like okay, so if I can see that. If Jake and Sherry's, I can accept that. Chris and Pierce, I can accept that. But Leon, I can feel you on that. Helena's not necessary. Like if it was just Chris, not just Chris, just Leon, it would have been okay. Yeah. And the story would have still felt as crazy as it did. Like if Helena died with her sister right there, and then that was like, that's it, no more co-op or something, I don't know, it would have felt better. Or
maybe if they named it, maybe if it was more focused on Helena and maybe like Leon trying to help her in a more active like way, as opposed to like, because it does, it is her
he is trying to like unframe her from killing the president.
Right, yeah.
But I
forgot about that part.
Exactly. Like if it would have been better if like you would saw like police officers, or like when you were in the pawn shop, the people being like, "Wait, that's the guy." That's the guy that killed the president. That's what they're looking for and shit like that. That would have felt more impactful. And then when you see Chris and he's like, why did you kill the president? What the fuck are you doing in China? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it was more precedent, the fact that, like, other than, like, we just need to get Simmons because he's the evidence we need to prove that he just released a biological warfare, chemical warfare. But I mean, you're in China and there's millions of zombies. They drop nukes. Obviously, if the president is dead in his situation and Air Force One crashed in the middle of China, obviously some shit's going on.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. Let's go into Chris's campaign now. So I hated Chris's campaign. Actually,
it's easily the weakest. Easily,
I did like the theme, the thematical element of like him having PTSD from watching his crew die and having to watch him again. But like the gameplay was brutal, and it was like it really like showed you the weaker elements of this game, which is like basically that they're all these zombies are bullet sponges, all these Yavo are bullet sponges, and you're just like, it was just too. It didn't have a good. It was exhausting. It felt exhausting. There's too much like action. I'm like, oh my god, like
it was just give me too much adrenaline. I feel you, and it doesn't help that it starts out with the PTSD, then him going through everything, and then halfway through, you already getting accustomed to like, okay, we're in China. All right, so his story is going to be him fighting the bioterrorist that was already there. Then all the shit happens, but then it just goes to like a whole chapter and a half of flashbacks, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Just to explain the PTSD and why he feels this way, but it just felt like if that was the first chapter, like it felt like if the first two chapters were swapped, nothing would have been different. Yeah. And it just would have helped the pacing a little bit more. But I just hated the second chapter because the flashback just felt like having to wait for the turrets to blow up, having to wait for the AT gun to move up the street to shoot. Like it felt like a Call of Duty level, and it didn't really feel like it didn't feel in place for Resident Evil. Especially because in his campaign, you start with an assault rifle, and that's like your main gun is like assault rifles.
Yeah, it's just too much action, and that level you're talking about with the like giant BOW. Yeah, it's just so ridiculous to me. Like this like, giant, I'm just like, what is it like? Why?
They just needed to add him because he was in 4 and 5. They was like, go ahead, add him.
Yeah, like I always forget that there was like that troll zombie, like big zombie one in 4,
and there was one in 5 as well.
Was there? Okay. Yeah. So then they were like, we need to add. Yeah. I'm like, it just feels like it becomes a little bit too much when it's like a giant thing. And I'm like, oh, why? Why do you already have like the aspect of the virus and
it's not one, it's two of them in the same place. And you're like, oh, and I gotta protect this guy so he can blow.
And you gotta like jump on their arm and like pull the thing out. I'm like, what? What is this? And that's where my girlfriend was like,
all right, what's going on?
Yeah, she's like, what? She's like, I don't like this campaign.
Yeah, then the running on the train, on the thingy, on the boat, the blowing up. I can't, like, the rest of it's a blur. Then there's like a chase scene with Ada in a car.
Oh man, the car scenes.
Yeah, I forgot. Or the car
sections. Jeez, are so bad. I'm like, why? Yeah, it's so long too.
Then there's the random submarine section where he like who's that Chris? For Chris? When you were on the boat and then you like fly the plane after you get through all the shit, you like fly on the like aircraft and like shoot all the anti-air guns and shit.
Oh, the jet part.
Yeah, and then you like drop the fuck, and then the second Ada dies. It's so much that it's just like, bro, what? I forgot his final boss, honestly. What the fuck was his final boss?
It was like the like jelly skeleton.
Oh thing. Yeah, Piers gets infected with the fucking Javo virus, and then they fight like a Metroid.
He gets like a electric like cannon arm. He's like, yeah. Honestly, that was kind of cool because I'm like, okay. This is a little cool. Just the fact that, like...
Yeah, like, if you were playing Piers, you'd be like, yo, I got this fucking cannon arm. Like, I made me so mad I chose Chris, because I was like, bro, he's got a fucking cannon arm.
I felt the same, because I've already had... had played as Chris before, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do Chris again, whatever. I will say that there is a like emotional scene in the underwater base with Chris, Sherry, Jake, and Pierce, where like Jake has to confront Chris because he killed his father, and like he has his gun pointed to Chris, you know, and Chris is like, yeah, I did it, man, you know, and it's just like really, really well directed, and it does have like like if you were invested like that, like it would definitely have a good payoff, but it doesn't because Jake never expresses that he's like upset someone killed his father. So for him to like try and get revenge,
even then he
against
finds
Chris.
out who his father is. He just thought his father was a deadbeat, and then he finds out his father was an evil villain that almost destroyed the world. Which he did. Yeah, which he's like, damn him, you know, fuck it, you know. So like, it's weird that he's like mad at you killed
Chris.
my dad.
Yeah,
it would have made more sense if like to him, Wesker was like a really cool dad, helped him out, was doing shit, and then he just died, and it's just, oh, Chris Redfield killed your father, and then he went into a life of mercenary-tude and stuff like that. That would have been different. That would have been actually really cool. But he doesn't know his father. His father's a deadbeat. And it doesn't really make sense that Wesker would have a random illegitimate child with his blood, knowing at Wesker he would train him.
Yeah, like it feels a little like... But with Chris's story, I just like that, you know, whole thematic element of like he has that PTSD and he's trying to like overcome that. And then he loses Pierce to the virus that he's trying to save, you know, humanity from, and he really gets no redemption at the end of it. It's just like, Chris, you're pretty much, you should be more depressed from when it started. Yeah, like I don't know what you're doing.
Nah, I'm gonna eat this steak and then I'm gonna
go
to bed. Go, come on, guys.
Sir, we got our orders, and he doesn't even finish his steak.
He just started eating this shit, and he's like,
I'm like, who does that? Aren't you hungry? What are you doing?
I would have been like, y'all can wait. Thank you. Yeah. Do you not see this piping hot steak, bro? The fuck? Hey, get a bite, bro. Come on.
Yeah, hey, help me with this so we can go.
Hey, come on.
That part was pretty ridiculous.
His campaign is so funny thinking about it now. I don't really have much to say about it because it's so forgettable. It's so forgettable. Like I really had to think right there, like of all the shit that happened in the campaign. But even then, I'm still like, like his is like if you cut it and he was just a random like cutscene character, it would have been no different, honestly.
It is. I do feel like the intersection of the story. I like that idea a lot, and because you don't see it often. It'd be cool like in other games if you had like, oh, you can play as like in Metal Gear or something. You could play as a big boss, and then you could play as you know, some other character, and then there are things, you know, I just like playing as different characters. Okay, like I'm just gonna say it.
Resident Evil has this cool thing that's been trademarked, copyrighted. It's called the zapping system. It's
what the fuck is that?
Yeah, this is exactly what the zapping system is interconnectivity. Because ever since RE1, like all the stories have kind of been like, yeah, this is his own story, but like the other character has like their story that interconnects. And same, like specifically, I guess with zapping works better with the older games because you had the item box. So like stuff you put in this item box would carry over into the other character's playthrough. So if you was like, okay, I'm gonna put this gun in there, the other character can go and grab that gun out the item box and use it during their playthrough. Stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like I think Onimusha does it.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's just a quote unquote word for it.
Yeah. Did you like that, or did you notice that like it's sort of weird to me when like a game feels more like a game when it's like, okay, each chapter was an hour exactly.
Yeah, I have like an auto splitter and I was recording and I would always finish at like 49 or like 54 minutes, and I'm like, huh, interesting.
I didn't like that. I'm like, did they like perfectly engineer each? Because they're not well paid. These hours sometimes feel like 5 hours. Chris's campaign felt way longer than
chapter 2. I was like, bro, this is taking too long. But it was only an hour.
Terribly paced. That is interesting because you get a better sense of what pacing in a game is when like, okay, so each chapter is an hour. This chapter 2 in Chris's felt like 3 hours, but it was just 1 hour. But because there's so much happens and it's just so exhausting. And
then Jake's campaign felt like 2 hours, but it was really 5, like the rest of them.
Yeah, Jake's campaign did feel short, but I'm glad because I hated the Eustanak. I hated that whole thing.
Yeah, I hated most of his campaign, even though I liked his character and the premise behind them all. Like that was.
What did you like? What did you like about Jake?
I like Jake's character. I like Sherry's character. They're both really interesting characters, and I feel like this game would have been better if it was just their story, because we know Sherry, and playing as the antagonist of the whole franchise's kid, that would have felt a little better. And then just having the other RE heads just pop up and be like, "Hey, what's up? What the fuck? What the fuck? We're here to stop this." That would have been like cooler. Like, "Hey, we're here to help you out." Because Jake is a character, and I felt like if instead of having 15 chapters split between three duos of characters, if you could have had 15 chapters spaced out for just Jake, it would have felt better in terms of building his character, building why he would feel anger towards Chris killing his father, all that stuff like that. Like Sherry, where the fuck she's been since RE2. Like everything would have felt better pushing, because she's also directly attached to Ada, to Simmons, to Neo Umbrella, to the Java virus. He's connected to the entire antagonist group. It would have felt better to see the background side of everything.
I think that's well said, and I think I absolutely agree with you. I think that, had it been more focused on Jake, and I think things would need to be rewritten to make more sense and to have more weight. But I did like Sherry a lot. I like the fact that she was working for Simmons, and she finds out, through Leon that he's like Leon's like, I'm trying to go after Simmons. She's like, that's my boss.
Yeah.
Like I'm about to go meet up with him, That was just a cool little plot twist. But yeah, like it could have, because I don't know if it's implied that Sherry and Jake fall in love, but it seems like that's what they're trying to like do. But it was like very like
half-assed.
It just wasn't. Yeah, it was half-assed, and like at the end, like it feels sort of like they were trying to go for like a Sherry saves Jake's soul type of thing, because he's like a mercenary who just wants to work for money, and he doesn't care about humanity. He's like, whatever, I'll do this.
I'll do it.
And and by the end of it, he's like, I'll do it for you, and here's 50, I'll lower my charge for like 50, and like, and it would have just been a cool like pass of the torch, like to go from like Chris and like Leon and all of them to Sherry. And like a new era of Resident Evil characters, not to like ignore them, but like just pass it on a little bit. Let her be the star of this one if you're gonna introduce all these new characters and
and think about all the shit that they have been through. Like Leon's gone through Raccoon City, he's went through RE4. Like he's gone through some shit. Let him rest.
Let him rest. Give him some time. So when he comes back, it's like hell. Yeah. Well, I mean, he wasn't really in 5, was he?
Nah,
I didn't play 5.
But Jill was in 5, and they let her rest after Revelations. They was like, yo, we gotta let her be. She was possessed. She went through RE1, RE3. Bro, just let her be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, same with Chris. He went through RE1, RE5. He punched a boulder to kill a superhuman and throw him in a volcano. Like, let this man be.
Yeah. There are parts of the story that do feel okay, because you have clones. You have a virus. You have
nukes.
You have nuclear weapons. You have
exploding buildings, giant flies.
Just like a lot of deception and like intrigue and a little bit of the occult, a little bit in there, right? Or am I missing?
Yeah, a little bit in Ada's campaign.
Yeah, so it's like so much shit, and I'm like, oh my god. When I watched your video on Scarlet Nexus, you talk about this anime trope, like all these things being thrown at you, like what the fuck, what, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, like, did you feel the same, like, or do you get what I'm saying as far as?
It's
like,
funny because I didn't feel the same. I guess not to rag on Scarlet Nexus, but
you did enough in that video.
See, the difference is that the presentation, wink, and the cutscenes, how everything is, I actually see them. I actually see Jake's face when he's like, second guessing, and I gotta remember this is also in audio form. When he's like second guessing, like what people are saying, or if he's thinking about what's going on, like Chris's face when he says, "Yes, I killed your father. Yes, it was personal." Like you can see even in Jake's face and in Chris' face. Chris is like, "I'm standing 10 toes in a minute. I'm telling my truth." You feel it. You feel Piers freaking out when they get to Ada, and he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
You feel it, but in Scarlet Nexus, you don't feel it because it's the anime Tails like profile picture. So you're like, I don't give a shit, bro. I don't see this in action. I don't see your movement. I don't see how your stance is. I don't see how you feel about the situation. By the end of the campaigns, all 6 characters are dirty, sick, tired, and just want to go home. Like they are all like, bruh. Especially in China, they're all like, bruh,
exhausting,
like how much more, especially Leon and them, they're like, bro, how much more can we do to fight this? Please, Simmons, die.
Oh god, don't even bring up the fucking that fight.
And I feel like this one also felt better because of the interconnectivity of the stories and the fact that they weren't so long. Like they were quick. You can knock them out. I knocked out Chris's in a day. It was just one quick playthrough. Done. Like they feel good because they double down on everything. So like you play through this story and you see this. So you see it and then you see it from another perspective and then you see it from another perspective. So you see it from like 3 different perspectives, each interconnectivity option. And it's like, oh. And you finally understand how everything got to where it was. And it hits a little bit better because you see all angles and all perspectives of everything compared to just, hey, here's a text box and we're going to explain 6 plot points to you right now. Ready? Like, nah.
Yeah. I will say that some of the sections in the story where it interconnected didn't always work for me. Like there were some things where I'm like that, like, okay, like let's say I'm playing Leon's campaign and something happens. Unfortunately, I don't have any specific examples, but something happens, and then you play Chris's or Jake's, and just intersect there. And sometimes I'm like, that's it. That's all I get. Like just like a little, hey, what's up? You're there. I'm over here. Like I feel like that happened a lot with Ada's, where like I wanted to know more about what she was doing, and like when I finally played her campaign, it felt like it was just like, oh, she's just here now. She says the same thing, doesn't explain anything, and like she's gone. Like it almost felt like they could have just been on the phone, like, and just called each other, like, hey, yeah, this is.
I like the connectivity of Ada's campaign. Like it was small stuff. Like when you fought the chainsaw monster and you like pull down the thingy, like it was like a wooden board to like block a door, and then in Jake's campaign you have to do the swings and swing over and open the same door because it's locked and you can't get in through the other side. Or like the fact that like in certain situations when Ada would just appear and snipe shit, it was really because she was like getting away from something else and like moving on, or like, oh, I need to go this way. Let me move this way. Oh, hey, let me help them out real quick. And would just like,
yeah. I did like that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one in China where she helped him out. By the way, her campaign, she got around, like fucking swinging around everywhere. I'm like, god damn.
I like the grappling hook on her campaign.
Yeah.
It felt like really cool. And that's another campaign that honestly, if it was just her campaign, like if it was just an Ada game,
there really should be just an Ada game. Why isn't there a Ada specific Resident Evil?
Yeah, she always gets a spin-off campaign, but never like her own official.
Maybe they don't have enough confidence that she could carry a game.
Yeah, I don't know.
When she's basically Leon, but a girl.
Essentially, yeah. Can we just?
Although probably smarter, but
yeah. Can we just pour one out for Piers? Rest in peace, man.
What did you like about Piers' character?
I didn't.
You didn't like him?
Yeah, I'm smoking Piers Pack tonight. Fuck Piers. Rest in peace, bozo.
Yeah, I liked, I guess...
He was generic. He was very generic.
he served a function in the story to Chris. He was a very utilitarian character, and that's like he just played the like, hey, I'm representing your PTSD, your teammates that you lost, and you're gonna lose me, and I'm gonna sacrifice this for you to keep going. Again, maybe it would have been cooler to have Chris sacrifice himself for Pierce, and Pierce like become
Horizon. See,
give it more weight, give it more meaning. Like it feels, but they're so scared to kill off these characters, even though like
Chris
billions of people are dying.
Yeah, like Resident Evil is one of those games where it doesn't matter who it is. Like, it really doesn't matter who it is. As long as they got a gun and they're like, "What's going on?" Yeah,
they're pretty inconsequential. Ada has a lot of like, you know, charisma, and Leon is just like a staple, and like, but Claire or I guess Albert Wesker too. He has like, you know, he is a character you like, but everyone else you can really just swap them out for someone else, and it would be fine.
It'd be perfectly okay.
And then just having like that legacy, like Pierce moving on and just being like, yeah, this was my commander or whatever, and we went through all this, and just like, I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool, but they're like, nah.
Yeah, because then you could have brought back Claire. See,
we're
at higher risk.
See, why? Yeah.
Where's
written
Claire?
by Back of the Rack.
But I would say that this story feels like the end of like a 6-part saga. Like this felt like they were trying to I don't want to say wrap up all the ends of RE 1 through 6. But if this was the final Resident Evil game, it felt like this was a good send off. And it was for a minute until a couple years ago. It was pretty much just, hey, we'll just re-release the old stuff, I guess. Please.
Are you saying this was the Avengers Endgame of Resident Evil?
No. No. I'm saying this is.
You know what this?
I'm saying this is the final Resident Evil movie of Resident Evil.
You know, speaking of movies, I wanted to make this analogy, and I don't know how poorly I'm about to explain it, but are you a fan of the X-Men movies, the original?
Yes.
Like the original trilogy? Okay. I'm a pretty big fan of those. And Resident Evil 6 to me is sort of like X-Men Last Stand.
I know exactly what you mean by saying that.
So yeah, like and fans of that franchise will know, and maybe for those who don't, I'll try to explain it. So X-Men, the first 2 movies set a tone and had a certain amount of heart and action, and they were sort of maybe janky in some areas, but fans came to expect something from the first 2 that were written and directed, I think, by Bryan Singer. Maybe not written, but definitely directed. The third one comes along, they lose Bryan Singer because he's off directing Superman Returns, and so they need to get some guy because they have, you know, like a quota, you know, so they get Brett Ratner, who's mainly known for his action movies or whatever. So X-Men Last Stand is the third one that he directs, and it's what a lot of people feel is like a diluted, very messy, somewhat bloated version of the other movies.
Too many plot lines consecutively going at one time when they're not focusing on one.
Very action heavy, and you know, so on and so forth. And this is sort of the same beast. This is the same situation that Resident Evil 6 sort of find itself in, where it's like trying to please the fans and also trying to please, like, well, we also want to make this a commercial thing and like please everybody. Our
trilogy. We need to.
Yeah, exactly. Go out with a bang. So X-Men Last Stand had like 3 major like important plot lines that were just not like well developed in the movie and didn't really pan out well and were executed. And Resident Evil 6 to some extent has that sort of that same thing. I don't know. Do you agree with my analogy? Because I was thinking about it a lot.
I agree with it. It makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, I guess you also have to know X-Men 3 and play this game. But to be fair, you got time to watch them, so you'll understand. If you know, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
If you know, you know.
By the way, X-Men 3 isn't as terrible as people think. I think there's a really great scene in there that Bryan Singer could have never directed because he can't do action well at all. I think I think Brett Ratner. It's like pros and cons. It's like you get the heart of Bryan Singer's X-Men movies, or with Brett Ratner, you get like a technical, tight. It has pretty good pacing and like some good action sequences, but the story and the characters sort of fall apart. So it's kind of like give or take. It's like what do you want? I can't do a good story and good action sequences. So I don't know. Let's move on to the last thing, which would be gameplay, which we talked a little bit about. And you mentioned
we've sprinkled it in.
Yeah, you on Twitter, and I quote, RE6 is peak RE gameplay or something like that, right?
I'm standing 10 toes in it. 10 toes down in it. RE6 is the greatest to this day, including 7 and 8, including the remakes. This is still the best Resident Evil gameplay as to this date in the series. Because, hear me out, behind the back camera is exactly what Resident Evil needs. We knew that with Resident Evil 4. That's why I started a whole subgenre, and that's why every other survival horror game said, oh, we're not doing the lock camera no more? Okay, cool. We'll do it behind the back. That's why everybody else adopted it. That's why Dead Space does it. That's why everybody else still do it to this day. The Last of Us, everybody does this behind the back camera.
Yeah.
The problem that came with Resident Evil 4 was the same problem that the Resident Evil games had, was the lock camera. If you could run and gun with a lock camera, the camera would move, your position would move, your aiming would move. So they had to lock it down. It's also to create that sense of tension, as well as the fact that if you aim longer without shooting, you get better accuracy. It's gameplay mechanics involved with it and stuff, especially with the tank controls. So then we move into the behind the back camera of Resident Evil 4, and you're still got tank controls, but now you just can't move. But because of the tension in the villages, because of Resident Evil 4, how the village works, you move through the village. Every time you fight, you're fighting not just one person. You're fighting like 4, 5, 6, 7. Like you're fighting masses. Same thing with Resident Evil 5, because that has the same situation. Luckily, they added the quick turn button. It's the same situation. You're in villages. You're fighting like there's literally sections where they're like, don't fight, just run. There's too many people. Just survive as long as you can until we can get you out of there. And then you move to 6, and look what you can do. You can move while aiming. Oh my gosh. But look what the zombies can do. They're spiders. They're crawling around. They're lizards. They're moving fast. They're hunters. You got to dodge out the way before they run you over. And they add to that gameplay by allowing you to use the movement, like rolling out of the way, running away from something and sliding under something to move to a sacred area, or ducking under somebody throwing something and then shooting back, the quick shot, so you can like get something off you real fast. Or oh my gosh, like there's just this funny thing with like conserving ammo in RE4 and 5 where you would like knife somebody's face or like shoot them in the head, so they'll go like and then run over, kick them real fast, and then like knife them when they're on the ground, so you can save just one bullet for each person. So they do that in this game, but you can just straight up just punch somebody, punch them again, do the melee, and it feels good because it gives you options. You don't have to just shoot. You don't have to just run away. You can hit melee. You can move melee. You can use the environment. You can shoot like backpacks and blow up zombies, or like sometimes zombies will be holding dynamite. You can shoot those. It's so cool, man. It's really cool. I like it. It feels nice. And if you don't believe me, start up Resident Evil 6 and play Mercenaries mode. Don't even play the story. Don't even worry about the story. Just play Mercenaries.
Worth it alone, I would say.
Worth it alone.
Mercenaries No Mercy mode or whatever.
Oh my lord.
I was like, this is the best way to play this game. Like, just give me an arena and it's
Just
like basically the level. Yeah, like and you see more zombies on screen than you ever do in the campaign, and you make more. It's more tense. It's more like I love it. I'm gonna play some right now. I'll be back.
I was going to say the Mercenaries mode. If they release the mercenary modes today as like a 4-player co-op, free to play thing, you make your own character. You can buy like some little cosmetics and like.
I have something to tell you. Have you played Resident Evil Revelations 2?
No.
Because it has what is called raid mode in that game, but it's mercenaries mode. But it's like a whole game. Like you pick Claire or whatever characters are in there. You pick that character, you get you unlock new moves, you level up, you go through stages. Dude, it's so awesome. I play it like periodically. Like I'll just jump in because it's just like it's that mercenaries mode with like an actual progression system, and like there's levels and you unlock like new moves and you have skills to add to your characters. And I wish there was more like character skins, because like I think you start off with Claire, and then once you play as Claire for till like level 10 or something, you unlock different versions of Claire, and you can like use those skins, and each skin sort of has a different loadout. It's actually more in depth than I thought like it would be, because there's loot. Like you pick up loot, you pick up weapons, you bring it back to like your like hub world. It's like a hub room, yeah. And you can like craft weapons with like specific, like quick shot, like does more damage. And dude, it's cool. It's incredible. I was gonna add it to the list if I haven't already.
I think it is actually on the list, Revelations 2.
Yeah, because I'm like, this is no one. Why?
Those are the only two Resident Evils I haven't played, or those two. Those are the only two, and the new one. But
I didn't play. Yeah, I didn't play Revelations, the first one, but Revelations 2 was really, really solid, and I didn't even beat it. I just played like a couple hours, and I got sucked into raid mode. I actually have it twice. I bought that game twice,
and still
on Switch. And I'm just like, raid mode is like just like chill. Like it's like, all right, let's fucking grind this out.
Yeah,
yeah. So
have you played the other multiplayer modes in RE6?
Fuck no. I jumped into what game mode was it? There's so many, and they're almost like very similar. But I jumped into one, and there was like another person who was like fucking overpowered as fuck. And like I think I don't know what you were supposed to do, but I died, and I was like, fuck this. And it was like that same guy in like every game mode I tried to play, so I just like stopped playing. I just did solo raid mode.
Yeah, I did one where it was like a team deathmatch essentially.
Yeah.
With like zombies in the middle, and then I did Agent Hunt one time, and I joined somebody's game in the mission. I joined somebody's co-op game in the mission where you got to get the 3 little passcodes, Chris and the boat, and I was the indestructible monster. And I was walking around. I could go through the vents and stuff. I was beating their asses. I was like, oh, this is cool. But I would never do it again. I'm not really one of those people.
Yeah, it's like fuck someone else's game up entirely.
Yeah, I specifically in Dark Souls don't use humanities because I don't want people to invade me and shit like that. So
yeah, did you play online when you were doing the single player? Did you have people able to join you? Or
I did for one, and then somebody agent hunted me, and I was like, okay, let's turn this off. No,
yeah, because that's the gameplay. It is fun, and I actually want to ask you a question. So this is more interesting because as we get to like play games and like learn more about them, I think we sort of realize that there's like a maybe consistency or like an art form of like what meshes well together. So you mentioned like why this is peak RE6 or RE gameplay, you know, and you made your case for it. So I guess I just want to ask, like, does this gameplay contradict the tone and atmosphere that the Resident Evil series is known for?
No.
In other words, like, does the dodging and rolling and roundhouse kicking go against the fear and the tension and like the pacing of what like Resident Evil is known for? Because I like the action, like jumping back and Johnny Woo status, like and rolling. I love all that. It's great.
Just reminded me of a game. That just reminded me of Stranglehold, the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's what it is. Yeah, and you're like rolling and like especially like with Helena when you do her quick shot, she's just like on the floor doing all these cool like fucking stances and stuff.
Yeah, and
I'm like, this is so badass. But I'm like, it does for me. I think does run contradictory to like a tension-filled, like, I'm like, imagine if you could do something like that in Dead Space or trying to think in Silent Hill, like what if you could fucking roundhouse kick enemies? It'd be a little
roundhouse kick pyramid head.
Yeah, like or like when you get like a crowbar, you're just like doing like some like.
It's
fucking,
funny
like,
because it created a whole subgenre because of this. Like this is how Resident Evil 4 was originally going to be, and then they said, "Shinji, what are you doing?" And then he said, "All right, bro, I was just making it the Devil May Cry." And now we have that entire character action genre because of trying to make an action-based Resident
horror.
Evil.
Yeah, where you're like,
game. Just because there's explosions, just because there's action or car chases or turret sections where you're fighting a giant mutant T-Rex doesn't mean that it's not the Resident Evil atmosphere. You got to remember, bro, this is the same game where in RE3, or like the OG RE3, there's a fucking perfect parry. There in RE2, there's a giant dude that chases you and you got to kill him with a rocket launcher. The same thing with RE3. RE4, do I even have to explain half the shit that happens in there? Like, you think that it's still scary, but it's just a different perspective. But you fight a giant ogre, you run away from boulders, you fight fish people, there's a fucking vampire and a fucking cult. Like, what more do you want? RE5, the people are exploding into monsters. You fight Wesker in a volcano and punch a boulder to kill him. Like, there's so much crazy stuff that happens in 5 where it's like, bro, RE6 is tame.
So you're saying that my point of Resident Evil 4 setting Resident Evil series on this path is actually more that the path was set even before that, and this is just like a natural evolution of like the series.
Yeah, this is how it was always going to go, and it can't really contradict our Resident Evil atmosphere because this is the Resident Evil atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like,
ooh, well said. I like that. That was good.
Yeah,
I'm not fucking. You look confused.
I was like, "What I do?" This is Resident Evil. Like
that. I agree with you that this is that. That's why I was making the point earlier. Like, okay, like people expect a certain something from a franchise, you know, and I'm like, with RE6, people are like, oh, it's not this or it's not that, and I'm like, I feel like Resident Evil 5 and 4. Which is like beloved.
It just gives you more mobility and gameplay options to allow you to not, because there was a lot of what makes playing RE4 and 5 hard. Like nowadays is the fact that you can't move while you shoot. There's not a cursor. You got to use that dumbass laser pointer. And this is in the era when you got muddy graphics. So like you trying to see this one tiny 1 pixel long laser to shoot perfectly in certain situations doesn't really work, especially when you're getting gangbanged by like 50 zombies and you're like, I gotta turn, but I gotta stop, walk back, and run off. Like, no, that shit is annoying. Why do that when I can just jump back or quick shot the thingy and then roundhouse kick them out and knock everybody away? I don't know.
I think what we're talking about is not mutually exclusive. I think we're both right. So I think like with Silent Hill, this sort of gameplay would run contradictory to like the tone and the seriousness. But Resident Evil has never
set that precedent. Like Resident Evil,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
from Resident Evil 1 to 2, it was a jump. It went from RE1 where it's like this creepy mansion, puzzles. Zombies were rare and they actually pose a threat. RE2, there's more zombies, there's more weapons, there's more action. RE3, the same situation. To 4, 5, it just keeps growing. But Silent Hill, the monsters are way more deadly. And it's not like Silent Hill 1 was like, oh yeah. And then Silent Hill 2, oh yeah, we're beating the shit out of every monster. Even Silent Hill 3 and 4, you're still like, I gotta hide. I gotta run away. Like Fatal Frame, Siren, like all these series, they set the precedent that you're not more powerful than the monster. Like Resident Evil has always been a surmountable task. Whereas Silent Hill and everything are insurmountable.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like what's that first person Outlast? It's like you're helpless. You're being chased all the time, you know. And Silent Hill, you have some power to like just kill monsters, and then I think with Silent Hill Homecoming, it got more action oriented, and people didn't like that. They're like, what the fuck? I can like literally beat down this nurse with a fucking like pipe, but like in like I want to say it was like a I need to be like you have like a locked on camera and you could like because you were like a military dude, so and it made sense, but people didn't like it. They're like, wait, well, it feels more actiony, and that's like, they wanted to appeal to more people because that the survival horror market at the time didn't have a lot of like fans. It was still niche, so they're trying to pull in more people. And I think Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5 did that. So I think Silent Hill was also like, okay, let's fucking do that as well. And Downpour 2 had a lot of action and stuff. But
Alone in the Dark tried it and failed, and now we don't ever see the series again. I think about it, and comparatively with survival horror games, like if Resident Evil wanted to, they could make it scary. You know what I mean? Because think about RE2 and 3 remakes. They are scary. Yes. They are actually the same camera, literal same situations, and they're just as scary as the original games, just as horrifying. I don't want to say horrifying. They're not like, oh my god, it scared me.
Yeah, because it's zombies, so you're just like,
you're just like, whoa, no. You feel helplessness. There we go, a sense of helplessness. So it's not out of the norm for Resident Evil if they wanted to do it, but they don't do it because that's where the series is going. So I mean,
and Resident Evil 6, there's an argument to be made there that the new Resident Evil, the first person one, and the remakes wouldn't have been had Resident Evil 6 not kind of left its mark on Resident Evil history, because they essentially split up the series. Like, okay, let's make a more horror focused one, and then we'll just remake the old ones.
New style,
Yeah, because they had to go back and really rethink their whole strategy.
Yeah, had to win the fans back over after.
Yeah, they're like, shit, what do we fucking do now? So I'm not a huge fan of the first person, because you're right, it doesn't feel like Resident Evil at all.
I don't like them.
Aside from what did you play 7?
Yeah, I don't really like it. It's one of those. I don't like the first person style because I guess there was a big boom around 2011, 2010. And it was especially the time when PewDiePie and everything was coming out, because he got big off of Amnesia videos. So there was Amnesia, Outlast, then all the Amnesia custom maps. So that's all I used to play. It was Amnesia custom maps. And then I would play Pathologic or I can name a billion indie games that are first person horror games that I sit in a corridor, that I hide in a closet because something's coming. That's a whole subgenre of that. So it's Resident Evil going into that, especially after 6, 4, and 5. It's it's not for me. I don't get me wrong. It's a fun game. It's just, for me personally, the stakes, and especially what RE7 and 8 are trying to get into with the occult, and more or less I don't really know the whole story behind them. I think that they've been because they take place after 6. Yeah, they canonically they take place after 6. So I think that specifically the family in 7 are infected with the Javo virus. Same with RE8 and something with the Javo virus or some shit. I don't know. Some virus. I don't know. It just doesn't feel cool to me aiming in first person. I don't like it.
I do like the games, but it doesn't feel like Resident Evil.
If you renamed it something else, like Family Matters or something stupid, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered to me. I would have been like, oh, yeah, this is a really nice indie horror game or something.
I do like the engine, by the way, the RE engine.
Yes, amazing.
I love that engine. I like a lot. It's cool. RE2 remake is probably one of my favorite games. I like that
of all time.
Ever. It's my number 1 favorite game. No. What's funny with RE6? It's one thing I appreciate in some like in games, I think I get this from Silent Hill, is like the moment of silence, like when you're just like
when you're just exploring.
When you're running around the police department, like it's just quiet and zombies here and there, and it's like a little tense, but it's almost like therapeutic. I like just like the silence of. You get some moments like that in RE6, and I'll put some gameplay of that up, but yeah, it's that's what I like about it. And RE6 or RE7, you like get that too, but I'm not a fan of first person shooters to begin with, so it's a hard sell for me. I saw you playing Apex Legends, fucker. Don't you tell me you don't fucking I fucking suck.
I don't know what you're talking about. That wasn't me.
I let my little brother play the call.
That's some hacker on my profile playing Apex. Right? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh god! But you know what?
I think
I want to see a Eustanak versus Nemesis movie. I would like to see that. I just want to put that out there.
Fuck Eustanak, bro. I hate Eustanak. Like,
oh yeah, he was shit. It was annoying.
Like,
why?
It would have been like Eustanak is cool in theory, but that's what I'm saying, bro. If it was just Jake and Sherry, and Eustanak just came like every 5 chapters, and he's just like, oh, I'd be like, oh shit, what the fuck? But because it's like the end of every chapter is like, oh my god,
how does he fall in the lava and a bullet kills him in the end? I'm like, okay, guys, you're disrespecting like you're not respecting my intelligence. Like, come on, he falls into lava, then he gets out, and then you're telling me a bullet, which you guys have been shooting guns this whole time at him, a bullet is the thing, and they hold it together.
Yeah,
Sherry and Jake like
shoot him in like his little glowing part.
It's like, ow.
And then this man's Jake just at the end goes, yeah, I'm gonna square up with this man's, bro, and just beat the shit out.
Oh yeah, let's do this mano y mano. He says that shit.
I'm just gonna fight this man straight up. Like, it's just stupid stuff like that, or like the fact that he's just jumping from helicopter to helicopter, to shooting
as
at you.
As you're taking him out, I was like, okay, this is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, bro. Like all the shit this man does, I'm like, what the hell? He's in a cave of bugs. Fuck him. Like Nemesis, at least it felt like Nemesis was like some omnipotent, like just figure. Like Nemesis, especially in RE2 remake, like, well, Mr. X will walk around and he just walk up to you like, what the fuck are you doing in here? And you're like, oh shit. Yeah. And he's just eating bullets.
Square up.
Yeah. You shoot him in the face, he's just like, anyway. I don't know. I hated Eustanak. But that's what I was saying. If their story was more expanded, it would be more cooler. It'd be like, oh shit, Eustanak, because at the end of every chapter having a Eustanak battle is kind of like, all right, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It did kind of feel like they were just trying to like harken back to like their roots of like, oh, having a
giant
omnipotent,
monster,
like invincible monster, and it's just like when you see through it, when you're just like, okay, this guy's annoying, and you're just putting him here because like you want to redo the whole Nemesis thing, you know? It's like, oh god, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I think that might be everything I have to say about it.
What did you think about the QuickTime events?
Shit, I was about to ask you that too. That's so funny. The QuickTime events, dude, I don't mind them, honestly. I think sometimes like they don't, like, you know how sometimes when an enemy grabs you and you like get down onto the floor and you have to like press to get, I don't like that. I feel like it disrupts the more moment to moment gameplay. But like in the cutscenes, you know, like they had like that, you know, where you're Leon and I think you're Leon and Helena, and you're like in the helicopter, and like you're going through China, fucking wrecking shit with the helicopter.
Yeah,
like that like those cutscenes I don't mind, but I think it's like the more moment to moment, like, oh, I gotta fucking tap X to get out of this or whatever, or like rotate the sticks. What do you think?
I felt like they were less abrasive than RE5. I felt like RE5 had way, like there was literally cutscenes where it was like, yeah, do the QuickTime events and stuff like that. Well, at least with this one,
yeah,
at least it was all in gameplay. Like it wasn't like when it was a cutscene, it was a cutscene. So I would say they were less abrasive. Yeah. They served their purpose, and I feel like they were good at causing tension And they actually made you pay attention. Like you couldn't just like, oh, I think this is going to be a mash X one, so I'm gonna just mash X. Like you would have to. Sometimes it'll be like press X at the right time and stuff like that. So it felt cooler.
My favorite one, if I had to pick, and I know you didn't ask, but it's the one where if a zombie or whatever is jumping at you, if you press the dodge.
Oh yeah, and then you'll like. Either that or you can press the one where you'll like punch the dog as soon as it gets close to you and be like, the fuck out my face.
Yeah. Those quick time events are cool. I like because it doesn't interrupt you too much, and it's also based on actual scale. You're just like hitting the fucking art. Wait, did you play on Xbox? Wait, what? You said RT earlier.
Oh no, that's just I use an Xbox controller on my computer, so it's mentally ingrained in my DNA. Ignore it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or like, even though those prompts, you don't even have to press the prompt. You can just like, if you press L2 and X, you'll just duck and like duck under them and dodge it and stuff like that. So they give you options, or you can even do like a dodge back.
Yeah. I want to add that some of the animations for crawling were really slow. Some of the animations were good, but they were slow, and it made things feel more stiff.
Yeah, like the crawling animation.
The crawling, I'm like, what is this? I had to tap X to like have them scramble, but like, why not just hold it so I can just crawl a little bit faster? You have a sprint button. Hated that. Yeah,
ain't really much to say. It's a fun ass game, bro. Like if you played Resident Evil 4 and 5, just imagine that with more mobility.
Yeah.
Like if you played RE2, you've pretty much, or RE2 or 3, you've pretty much, like the remakes, you've played a Resident Evil 6. They've just taken away some of the mobility that you can do. Like in this game, there's verticality, so you can literally run, jump over, and go and be over top of something and shoot it. Compared to,
you know what? The cover system was ass. Didn't like that cover system.
I did use it actually this playthrough.
Did you?
The first time I played through the game, I was like, I didn't really use it, but this time I actually did like genuinely use it in certain sections.
Yeah,
but it was still ass.
Yeah, it's a little clunky. I'm like, ooh, this is.
Yeah, but it's not like a Gears of War. Like it wasn't like it's not meant for. It's there as an option. I feel like, but it's not meant for you to actually use it because there's certain sections in RE5 where you could hang on the cover, but it always felt like you needed to be on cover or else you were going to get sniped.
Do you find it weird that there's all these different button combinations and maneuvers that aren't properly like explained to you, the player? Like,
no,
is that weird? Like, what? Because
I like it because it adds a sense of expertise for learning them and using them in the proper circumstances and stuff like that. Like pressing L2 and triangle to switch from one pistol to two pistols, or change your grenade types, stuff like that. Like that felt cool. Or the fact that you could, if you do green, that's the same amount as a green-red, or stuff like that. I like, because
you don't have that. You don't have that in games anymore, and I did like it. Made it a little bit like, oh, like I'm learning a little secret here. You know? Yeah. I do think that like they would have benefited though from telling like, oh, here's how the melee works. Check this out. This is what you can do here, and roll out of the way, and blah blah blah. You know. Yeah,
and I felt like for me, it was a good seamless because it rewarded me for being a veteran player. Because RE4 and 5, that was the meta, I guess you could say, for like combat, was to shoot a leg or shoot a head, and they'll grab their leg or they'll grab their head, and then you run over, do your little punch, they'll either die or fall on the ground, and then you do the stomp. And you can do the same thing in here, and I did do the same thing in here a lot.
Yeah, I do it. Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah, but it felt better.
My girlfriend was like, why are you not... My girlfriend would just be like, why are you not shooting their heads? I'm like, watch, you gotta shoot them in the legs, they stumble, they go into their stumble state, and then it's contextual. You run up,
grab them,
and they do a suplex.
If they're still alive, stump them.
Or Chris like this grabs them like from the fucking head
and just fucking slams them.
Yeah, it's just some of the moves are a little like WWE. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because Jake does like a full like 619 flip around.
Yeah. And then Leon does like the whole like the head grab and like the fucking slamming them. I'm just like, you couldn't. Okay.
Yeah, because it's funny because the first time that you actually shoot, like, because I guess if you know the meta, if you go and you shoot the first like zombie, it doesn't stumble, like it stumbles, and you punch it, and then there isn't like a second prompt. It's just like, ugh, and you're like, wait, what? And you punch it again, and punch it again, then the prompt comes up that insta kills it, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
and it's interesting because they penalize you for spamming the melee. So that you can't just meta your way through the whole game. You gotta shoot, you gotta back up, you gotta use different angles and stuff. Because if you use too much melee, then your character gets all tired, and it takes a long time to recharge, and that can hinder you in certain situations.
When I hated when you would have no stamina left, but you would like hit like they're on the ground and you would try and like hit.
Oh yeah,
use,
like, it'd be too slow, and they're like,
it'd be like weak, and I'm just like, oh my, this is the most flaccid, like rigid, like thing ever. But yeah, so that's, I don't know. Would you recommend Resident Evil 6?
I would definitely recommend Resident Evil 6. I feel like if you're trying to get into the Resident Evil franchise,
maybe we should ask, would you recommend adding it to your collection? Would
yes.
you?
I want people to, if you have played the game before and you wrote it off because of YouTubers or internet reviewers or forum posts and stuff like that, just play it again. Remove yourself from everything else and just play it again. Play it as its own separate entity. Don't play it, I don't want to say as a Resident Evil game, but just play it, I guess. Play it all the way through.
Specifically
Leon's campaign. Yeah, because it's not bad. And if you're going through the Resident Evil franchise, don't skip it because it's necessary. It ties up a lot of stuff that's still important today in the lore wise. So don't skip it, please. It's fun. And if you're going to play it, at least play Mercenaries. I say, okay, get the game, add it to your collection, put it in, play Mercenaries, realize that shit's fire, and then play the fucking story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would recommend to add it to your collection. Absolutely. This is a back of the rack title. Add it to your collection. You know what? I just remembered that Operation Raccoon City came out around the same time as RE6, I want to say. And Operation Raccoon City is an action-focused fucking shooter.
Don't remind me of that game.
I have it. That's a back of the rack title. Maybe that's more back of the rack than RE6.
No, stop. Stop.
Think about it.
Listen, I bought that game day one. I paid full price. And I played through that motherfucker.
On PS3 or Xbox?
On Xbox.
Trash.
Okay. Okay, let me go back. We can play it next year for Halloween. We'll play it next year for Halloween. Because I haven't played it in so long. And I've always looked at it and I'm like, I should play this again. But I'm always like, no.
No.
But I also played the game co-op with like my friends at that time. And this is like the first game that I played with like real world friends and not just like online friends. That sounds horrible to say, but like,
wow.
But like friends that I went to high school with that I would see the next day and be like, yo, bro, we hopping on a operation tonight. Like, because I would play games with like my online nerdy anime friends. While as we talk about Naruto and stuff, we would just play Battlefield and like other games in the background and be like, yeah, man. Ha, ha, ha. So I would play more niche games with them compared to immediate friend group.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because immediate friend group's playing Call of Duty 2K. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Battlefield. They're playing the multi-billion-dollar franchise games, not the, hey, bro, have you heard of this Dragon's Dogma and Trails of the Cold series? Like even now, bro, we're in the Discord
does-
and they're still like, I'm like, yeah, bro, this week I'm playing B-Boy on PlayStation 2, and they're like, what? Why you keep playing all these old ass games, bro? Play something.
They don't. There, it is weird because like there are people that like don't see gaming like we do. It's like I went over to my cousin's house the other day, and her husband, who I didn't even know was a gamer to begin with, he's like a landscaper or something, and he was sitting there playing Call of Duty, and I was like, "What? You're a gamer?" But also I thought, I'm like, "Oh, he's not gonna know about anything that I'm about to ask him about if he's sitting here playing like this." Like it was just weird. It's like that's right. There's just people that play like these like they don't go outside of the norm, like or not, or they don't reach back into like oh, I'm gonna get this and maybe try this out. Like it's interesting to me that like that's not like we're sort of explorers in a way, you know?
Yeah, there's a running joke with me where I'll say like, "Ooh, guys, let's play this game," and they're like, "Why?" So you can play it for 3 days and you stop playing it.
Damn.
Just because I will play it for 3 days and be like, yeah, well, I'll play it, but you know what I mean. I'm playing everything else, so like
I'm like that too. Damn.
Yeah, so I'll play something with them, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Like right now, 2K, they're trying to get like a whole actual team together. They're running like rec leagues and stuff, and they're like, yeah, bro, you've been raising your 2K character up, and I'm like, nah, I've really just been doing it in my leisure. Whenever I
like
get
they will play that game for a while, whereas we will just like pick up a game, play it for a little. Well, I mean, with a JRPG, obviously I'm going to stick to that, but like, like I will
like multiplayer
go buy a lot
cooperative games like Valheim or Minecraft or League of Legends. You know what I mean? Some random generic battle royale. Like I'm only going to play it for a couple days until I get bored with it, and I'm gonna hop back on my single player game that I can beat in the Lord knows how long and stuff.
I'm not so sure I even like playing games with people, to be honest with you.
I don't.
Like
I've learned my lesson. You saw me playing Apex, and I was getting mad, and I was like, bro, like every time I finish a game, I was like, why the fuck am I playing this? I hate people.
Like, especially like just co-op stuff. I feel like they ruin what I like about games. You know, like playing. I remember playing.
But I guess it's also like a meta. Like I've talked about this before, where like I guess playing League of Legends and MMOs and like other games like that jaded my perception of multiplayer games, because it's not like, you know what I mean, when you were a kid where we could just be like, hey bro, look at this shit in the corner, and then we just sit there for like 20 minutes fucking around with a corner in the middle of a level instead of beating it. Like if I'm
that's
playing,
hilarious. Yeah,
because I've gone through the meta phase of League of Legends and LO Up Mobile Fire, and same thing with World of Warcraft and all these other MMOs, playing through them. Now the fact that I take that same thing and put it into single player games, where I'm like, what is the best loadout for this? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did that a little bit with Final Fantasy 12. When I was looking at a guide for the Espers, I was like, but also, what are the best class combinations? Just because.
Yeah, see, that's so interesting, because like that's the part I hate about gaming, is like when it gets too meta like that. Like,
and that's what I've been trying to break my mold. I've been trying to break that, where I'm like, I don't want to look up what's the best weapon, what's the best strategy. I just want to just go in, no guide, and just figure this shit out. And like, doing that co-op with friends, you're not going to get that, because somebody is going to go, oh yeah, I looked up and this is the best thing. Or somebody's going to go, oh yeah, I was playing the game for 8 more hours after you got off, and I figured out all this extra shit and I got it, so here, we're going to go do it. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I think with Epic 7, which I haven't played in like a month now, which is like the longest time I've gone without playing it, the community around it is really meta about it, and I'm like, I just want to collect these, like, leave me alone. Why do I have to, like, oh, this is the best character for this, and they're great for that, and this is what you want to equip them with? I'm like, why can't I just do it how I want to do it? Leave me alone.
That's how I felt about before they closed it. I think this is why I haven't really gotten into gacha games like that. Like, they closed down one of the Naruto games, it was the chibi one. Now they're all like the side profile, super big 3D graphic ones. I don't care. I just wanted the one where I just tap auto and then put my phone down and it would just do it.
Yeah.
And I would just collect characters and just be like, yeah, man, look at my S rank Shikamaru. It's so cool.
Yeah. And then he gets his ass whooped in PvP. You're like, what the fuck?
You're like, bro, it's so ass, bro. I just like collecting them.
Yeah, so I don't know. Should we close this bad boy out? How long has it been? How long have we been going?
It's been like an hour and some change. I don't really have anything else to say. I just play this damn game, please.
Yeah. Close us out. Since I.
All right, bet. I'm good off the script. Let's go. Fuck it. So once again, if you guys love us, like us, hate us, what would you rate us? Oh wait, that's trademark. Fuck. Okay. Let's try something else. Boom. If like and subscribe. Like always, sidebar. I don't know. No, I'm just messing with you. Okay, seriously though. You heard what I said. No, seriously, like and subscribe. I also would love for you guys. I want every video, instead of you guys being like, no comments, I want you guys to be like, hey, this is my experience of RE6, and let's just turn this into an RE6 form. This video, you can use it as a guide, and you guys can just have discourse and talk and converse about RE6. I would rather that be the case than just being like, oh yeah, I like RE6. Nothing else. Like, I want you to explain your whole. I want you to give me a dissertation as to why we were wrong and why you hate this game. I want it all.
Why do you or do you not like RE6? We want to see that in the comments. Let's talk about it a little bit. You know, I know there's lots of other videos that talk about why it's like the best bad game, but you know, it's been a while. Let's not forget it. All right. Well, thanks guys. Really appreciate you. Make sure you leave a comment. Like, subscribe, all that nonsense. Happy Halloween, and we'll catch you next month.
Can we put the Goosebumps outro?
I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the intro, because I'm probably gonna change like